This week on Fade to Obsidian, we will be discussing all of Iron Gold. We recommend that you have also read to this point in the book to avoid spoilers. Please be aware that this episode contains discussions about violence, torture, and death, as well as strong language. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Fade to Obsidian. We are having our Iron Gold filler episode today, and we are, as always, Crescent, and I am joined by Skipper. And
hello.
As always, for the end of the book, we have Salem.
Welcome, Salem. Round 4 for Salem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finish it out.
Yeah. And round 5. Isn't this
Yeah.
round 5? Because we did 2 for Golden Sun.
Yeah.
Or 2 for Red Rising.
Yep.
There was the other filler episode. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yes,
Round
right.
5.
The one where we...
Technically 6 if you count the gala.
Oh, and the gala.
True. Jeez, you're just a host at this point.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yep. You are a
frequent.
Regular. Yes,
there we go.
You are the
Okay.
I like it. Yeah, we're talking all of Iron Gold. We do not have an agenda.
Not even a little bit.
We're just
We don't have
spitballing
a
here.
You know us, we are usually so laser focused.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, okay,
Obviously.
sure. Is that what you
Wow.
tell yourself?
What are we drinking? Crescent, what are you drinking?
Okay, I'll do it. I'm drinking sour beer because it's a filler episode, and beer fills me up more than whiskey.
Oh, if I knew beer was on the table, I would have gotten beer. Okay.
Well, it's on my table.
It's on your table. Probably through behind this magical door, but Salem, what do you have?
I don't know. It's Salem Slurry, and I just put some stuff in a cup. There's like 3 shots of something in here. I don't know.
Oh, goddamn.
Gin, vodka. What's our
gin?
Okay.
And some other stuff I had in my cabinet, and then some simple syrup and filler drink.
Whatever it is.
Bubbly something.
Drink.
I don't know. I was like, oh, I like if this could be a trash can drink, it tastes like pretty good. So
okay, I like it. I am.
What are you drinking?
I'm the only one apparently with our traditional scotch, which was just selected from whichever bottle I wanted to grab. So this is the Oban 10-year, the special reserve, with the pretty like hallucinogenic rabbit. And then to make up for last episode where I was completely sober, I did literally just get off the sailboat. So I'm already 2 drinks in, which were rum and coke. So we're good. We're flying tonight. Faster than
Except
hopefully
for
my
you
sailboat
weren't.
one.
Yeah.
We were not. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. Yeah.
It's just the beginning of the season. It's fine.
It is just the beginning of the season.
Shaking off the rust.
Yeah. We just got to figure out how that wind works. It'll be fine. We'll be back.
Speaking of shaking off the rust, I guess when this airs, we will be done Operation Hazard Bedlam, or on the last day.
Yes.
Oh, is that when it is?
Hopefully everybody
Thursday.
has, and it'll be done on the Wednesday. So hopefully everybody is nailing their Hazard Bedlam subscription or submissions, not subscriptions.
I mean, at this
I
point,
would subscribe to
how much
Hazard
I
Bedlam.
spend.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. I need to get my ass in gear to do that one thing then. I didn't.
You could talk about it.
Oh, yeah. I guess
you could talk about it.
Yeah, theoretically, it'll be done by the time this goes out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to talk about what you want to do.
Though
Crescent, are you doing anything?
I might do some little bit of woodworking stuff. I recently started doing that. I'm currently making a frame for my certificate of authenticity for my Lightbringer poster.
Nice.
So
that's
I'm
cool.
I have a couple of the progress photos of making it, and I'm hopefully going to be finishing it mostly this weekend. And I'm going to put the certificate inside the frame with the sticker
Nice.
sitting beside it.
Cool.
Nice. I already have one picture taken that I took about a week, right when I got the stickers, for the Red is Rust, or Red Mars
Rust is
Red,
red.
whatever the Rust is Red. Because I live in Hamilton, which is actually steel town, so I got some very industrial looking, and I stuck it to the side of one of the steel mills there. So, and then my other one that I need to, I guess, do next week is skydiving is my plan. So hopefully, and this is what I have skydived with it for goblin mode.
Fuck yeah.
You have to do it now. Like,
Yep.
there's
Well,
no
I
going
have
back.
to,
You
but
said
I
it.
thought I had 2 weeks. I didn't realize I only had one. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah, it's just a 1 week thing.
Yeah.
Friday, I guess. Saturday. Okay, whatever. I will call tomorrow.
A day.
And get it set up.
Yeah.
A day. It's gonna be great. Salem, what are you doing for it?
I already did my thing. I went and I got a tattoo.
Oh yeah, and I
My
guess you can show it
God.
off
Yeah.
on here now.
Yeah, I can. Well, it's gonna be backwards, but
I haven't even seen it in.
No, it's forwards
it's
for me.
all. Oh, it is.
Yep,
Okay,
yep,
it's all
yep.
scabby, but I mean, yeah, I did that, and
That's
then
dope.
I did. Oh, and then I'm helping Red Wing with his
Right.
book one.
Oh,
So he's
yes.
doing a really cool one where he's got 13 books that he thrifted, so they're not brand new, and he's put geotags in all of them, and he has made them each a house from the Institute.
Yeah.
And he's calling it the Earth Institute. So I went and I hid mine on Western's campus. So
Nice. I also have one, and I need to go hide that. I'm so behind. Oh no.
Yeah, you got
What
a
are you
lot to do
doing?
this week. Nothing, apparently.
So at least we're recording this so far out that I can edit this later or tomorrow night. We'll figure it out. It's gonna be great. Yeah. I feel like though, like I have so many stickers that I need to
Oh
find
my
other things to do. Like we were sailing around tonight and we were going around the freighter ships, and there was an ongoing joke about how close can you get? And technically, legally, it's just before you hit them. But the sailing rules, it's like give them a wide berth. But I was like, can I stick a sticker on them? Can we get? And they were
You
like,
just need a big enough
no.
stick and put it on the end and stick it. Like
That
that's
was
all you
that's
need.
ooh, maybe I'll do that on Tuesday because there was a whole bunch of stuff we were going around, and I was like, maybe I should stick a sticker on that because they're all in my purse while we're sailing, so that I could get stuff. And it was like, what else can I stick a sticker on? Because yeah, I bought. Did I buy 50? I think I bought
Yeah,
50.
because I bought
Yep,
52.
me too.
Yeah, so it's like, and none
I
of
still
us
didn't win anything.
won any of the.
I didn't win anything either.
I think it's because that week we had too much luck with having the glitter and
Yeah,
gala.
we had the gala that week.
And they were
I mean, I'll take that. It's fine.
Yeah, that was pretty dope.
yeah. But once again, if you do have no, at this point they will have to have claimed the Tulsa dinner. So never mind, I
Mhm.
can't.
Yeah,
pitch.
I think they were already having to claim that. Right? I
Yeah,
thought the deadline was
Yeah.
up.
I don't know. None of us won. We have no
Well,
idea.
Fair.
For them
thought it
to
was
email about the sticker winners, so all like the dinner, the shirts and stuff, or the Lightbringer copies, like they all have until the 1st
Oh, okay.
Oh,
to
okay.
claim them. But he keeps Joel keeps posting stuff about how people need to email him. So I think that there's still some out there that people haven't claimed.
We are available, all of us.
It's true. Yep, all three of us.
If you do it on the Friday, I can go. I'm not gonna
Yes.
get in. Skipper has to pick me up from the airport at midnight.
Like midnight on the Wednesday.
I will change my plans to go early.
No, I will already be in town, so I can do the Wednesday. Just saying. Yeah. I already had to plan. Well, no, I can't say that part. Anyway, I already had to change my plans for things. Well, that'll come out later. So, yeah. All right.
Had to change your
Let's
plans
talk.
for redacted.
for
Oh.
Redacted for Crescent's birthday, I believe, right? July 31st.
That's Harry Potter's birthday.
Then when's your birthday?
The day after.
Oh,
August
August
1st.
1st. I'm so close.
Yeah, so far. We weren't even in the right month.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
That's okay.
We'll throw you a party in person. How about that?
Yeah, I'm looking
That'll be
forward to
Friday
that.
night.
Yeah. On the Friday night. No,
Yeah.
no. That's what HowlerCon is actually for his birthday.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, Joel and I have been
Did all
planning it
big
for
Bruce
months.
Oh,
Big
okay.
to get all of Pegasus Legion there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a video for Skipper. No.
What are you
Amping
doing
it
for
up.
me then?
It's a great question.
This has turned awkward because yours is in between. I'm coming to Vancouver and hoping you were joining me. That's the weekend before your birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm flying out to see you, maybe, if you come up and meet me.
I mean, I'll come meet you. I don't
Yeah.
have to work that Saturday, so I'll come out and I'll meet you, and
Be awesome.
I don't know, we can get lunch. I won't have
Yeah.
service because I don't have nationwide. So
Listen, Wi-Fi is in so many places this year.
yeah.
Or like, you're fine.
Skipper, you're drunk. Eat the rest of your toast.
Salem, you're halfway
toast
through
is
that drink. You
fine.
might be drunk already too.
Nah, man.
My toast is gone. We'll have more water. All right, Iron Gold. Okay. Let's talk about what I think is what we decided. I think on the grand scheme of things, we all love this book, but of the series, it is not our favorite because it's a lot of world building and world resetting, as I would say it. As well as we've been in Darrow's mindset for so many years, and now we have to look at him through different angles, and he's changed. A 20-year-old is not a 30-year-old, so it's a different mindset. But within that, who's everybody's point of view outside of Darrow for this one?
We've got Lyria. We've got Ephraim and
Lysander.
I don't think anybody's going with Lysander.
I don't know. I don't know. I think Lysander's it's definitely been interesting reading it at the stage in life that I'm at, compared to the first time I read it. And it definitely seeing it from like Lysander's point of view is very much so that young teenage, early 20s kind of mindset of you haven't made a name for yourself, you don't really know what life is, and you're trying to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't had all of the teachers he could have in order to be successful with that. Like, I don't want to I'm not going to bash on Cassius because I think he did a great job based off of
what he could
and what he had. I mean, they're living on a spaceship for 10 years. So I think Cassius did a pretty good job given how kind of angsty Lysander is. But
angsty
Lysander's
is such a good word for it. Yeah.
Yeah. But in
and
comparison,
then he also thinks he's super right about pretty much everything.
And that's I think the biggest thing for me is he thinks he's right about everything. And I know we've all been there at some point in our life, but it's really hard to read.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of you're not my real mom. That's how I
Oh,
I know better. I know this. I don't have to listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the den, we've been calling Cassius the uncle that got the kids loaded off onto him.
Oh yeah.
Or the single dad. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the drunkle is definitely drunk uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And poor Pytha's done her job. She's made an attempt as well, and he just nope. You are below me. I want nothing to do with you.
And it's so funny because she's so over him.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Do we know where they picked up Bytha, or just?
I don't.
Not
I,
specifically,
Mm,
I think we maybe
but
learn a little bit more in Dark Age, but not
yeah,
in this.
no. Yeah, because she just
yeah,
seems to be forced
they
on.
they talk about her in Dark Age. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm having to like flip back and forth because I just restarted Dark Age again too. So
right. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's. I think the other thing we keep saying is that Lysander is a vehicle into all the other worlds. Like, we don't care about Lysander, and he's not doing anything meaningful through pretty much any of this until the very end.
Not a good meaningful.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
but
is
and like
we
for a
get to
lot of it, not
see.
at all meaningful.
Yeah, like,
no.
I would say until he's like during the bleeding place where he stands up, he's just a bystander through all of it, even at the
Yeah,
beginning where he rescues Seraphina. Like, what's actually like Cassius is coaching him through the whole time, and the whole time you're watching, you want to see what's happening and not necessarily what Lysander is doing. So he's a vehicle to all these other worlds that we get to see how the Rim interact. We get to see how Cassius, some people's favorite, is doing. Like, we get to see Darrow from a different point of view of, you get at least glimpses in the like background of what has happened. But like, you don't really care about Lysander.
No.
He just exists.
yeah. I don't remember who said it, but somebody called him a literary Uber driver, and I
Yeah.
fucking love
I think
that.
that was Alcatraz. I think it was
I think so.
Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Oh, so great.
We love a good
Yep.
Alcatraz quote.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. He's just there. And because of him, we kind of see the demise of Cassius. That Cassius should have had his honorable well, he did have his
He
honorable
did.
moment, and it was
Yep.
taken away from him.
Yeah, like Lysander
Yes.
literally says it. There was a discussion about it in Iron Gold where
Yeah.
let me see if I can find it. His last moments spent thinking I betrayed him and stole his redemption. And it's you did. That's literally what happened. You betray him and stole his redemption, you little pissant. Miscreant.
Yep.
Pisscreant.
Miscreant.
Thank you, Rocket, for that.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah.
I
It's just
I think that's I don't know. I think that's the first scene where everybody really does not like Lysander because literally, like he said, he goes and he says that he did that, and then he still is like, oh, but it's Cassius. Like I I'm helping myself, but Cassius helped himself. And
yeah.
it's I don't know, their dynamic's really interesting, if we're gonna talk about relationships.
Yeah.
Like, I think that with Lysander, of course, he's I don't know, he watched Cassius and Darrow take down literally everybody that he knew, and I think that's always gonna live there with him, but yet he's somehow still in that mindset of able to see that Cassius has information to give to him. So I almost wonder if he more sees Cassius as the vessel for knowledge, and that's the only reason he's really okay with staying with him.
Yeah.
Because I
That
feel like
and then I
Lysander
think
is a collector of knowledge.
that and really Lysander owes Cassius his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Or else Severo would have just
Like quite
offed
literally.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bloodline would have been clipped at
Yep.
age 10.
Yep.
Yeah. Which it'd be interesting to know in the unwritten decade, like, out, you know, what did it look like from those first starter days of is young Lysander holding grudges against Cassius or thankful he existed? And then how does that grow in as you mature and understand more what is happening? Like, it would be interesting to know what does that look like in just terms of your maturity as you're hitting the peak years of life for maturity. Like, where are you standing with the person who both killed, well, at least was part of the killing of your entire family, but also saved you? Like, where does that balance? What happens there? Trauma.
I've
These are
said
the
it way
questions
too
for
many
Badger.
times, but there's another novella that I'd be super into reading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would want it from Cassius's perspective, though.
Yes.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even think kind of stemming off of that, especially with this last little bit of Iron Gold, where Lysander's really kind of he goes and he talks about seeing everybody's different fighting styles and leadership styles and things like that, and how he's trying to like make his own style by picking and choosing from these people, which I also feel like yes we all do, but it's also like dude, you aren't old enough to understand that you have to make your own. But he definitely, it's almost like he still idolizes Darrow in the means that he like his leadership style and his fighting style and things, but then he still absolutely hates Darrow because of what he
Yeah.
did. Which is it's like it's this internal battle that is so interesting to read. And like, don't get me wrong, I don't like Lysander, but like it's a very interesting turmoil to read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting. Well, and we'll see as he goes on. I think some people don't like I wonder how much of the not liking Lysander is fed in because he's got the flowery language that we're not used to. We're used to Darrow's straight to the point, like describe something as it is, as it's happening. But Lysander's got the very, well, I think we, with somebody on the podcast, I referred to it as like how you would expect the current king and princes of England to speak,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what he was raised with, and that's the flowery, and that to us commoners is is so obnoxious, right? Like even I feel like a
I
lot of us in this day and age, when you hear the monarchy talk about like basic things that you immediately want to be like, how do you know? How do you know
Mhm.
what the rest of us are going through? And that's Lysander's. He just has this speech, but at the same time, he does a little bit more know than the current monarchs of Europe. But yeah, so it's a lot of people are hung up on how he talks that I think, which then kudos to Pierce, drives it home of who this obnoxious child is.
I definitely picked up on that this time when I was reading, and I thought it was really interesting how Darrow's very, like you said, cut and dry. Like he's like, okay, describe it how it is, get to the point, whatever. But then Lysander really kind of, and maybe that's his own vein or sense of vainness, but like he describes people, like he literally
Mhm.
talks about like how beautiful somebody is, how horrid somebody is, and like when he's meeting the Raw, like he describes Serafina in detail and Dido and all these other people, and it's so descriptive that it really kind of shows in like a great writing style on how Lysander is as a character in comparison to Darrow as a character and what they view as important in their society.
Yeah, and I mean, to take it to the other two, I don't think anybody described through Lyria or Ephraim you ever learn what they people actually look like.
Right.
Lyria a little bit, like I think we get more description of Mustang and Victra than Darrow's
Yes.
ever given us, but no
Yeah.
one else. Like she
Yeah.
gives a little bit more, but yeah, so to your point of like all of Pierce is great at, how each person would see the world and what's important. Yeah, that's a good call out. Yeah. Ephraim, I think, even at that point now that I'm thinking it through, what people are wearing and what they have,
Yeah.
because that as a
Yeah.
character is what's important to him is the objects.
Yep.
Yeah. That and then that's like when he meets Lyria, I think for the second or third time when he gives her the pendant. he talks about how she's like straightened her hair and she's got a like I think he called it like a I think it was like he didn't like the leather jacket she had on or something. And I think it's really interesting how he picks and chooses, like Pierce as a writer picks and chooses like what is meaningful for each character.
Yeah.
And I even maybe with Ephraim, like you said, with he's more of physical objects, but I also think because he is the like con artist and like thief that he is, disguise is probably a really big thing for him too. So being able to hone in on like what people are wearing is probably
Yeah.
a big thing for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think, Darrow obviously is very straight to the point, but he also describes like almost people's locomotion, like their physicality,
Mm-hmm.
as a way of
Yep.
looking at people.
He's very much so into like describing the flow of battle and stuff too, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely seeing the world through that lens of brutality and violence.
Yep. Yeah. Can be interesting. All right. Anything else about Lysander that we really need to touch on here? I like how that I asked for everybody's favorite, and then we went the least favorite's Lysander, and that's where we get him out of the way.
Get it out of the way. Nobody
Yeah.
likes him. It's fine.
Mhm.
I mean, there are people that sympathize with him and enjoy him, and
Yeah. I feel like
that's fine.
the interesting things about seeing it through the den, and especially so to bring up, because it's hard for us having read Dark Age,
Mhm.
and two of us past that. It's really fun to see the people who are reading this through the first
Yeah.
time, and the concentration that people have on certain things. So for Lysander, I think especially his relationship, obviously to Cassius, but then to Seraphina and his like slight obsession with that and how he views the rim. And then the other thing people are hyper focused on, it seems like, is who gave over the hollow cube. Yeah, it's really fun to see what people are picking apart from Iron Gold that I don't think I caught the first time round that people are now hyper focused on.
Yeah. I like
Yeah.
seeing how some people are reading Iron Gold for the first time and they're like, "Oh, Lysander's just a kid. Like, why do you hate him?"
Yes, that was someone today was like, I forget
Mhm.
who it is not all the way through Iron Gold, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm not at the point of hating him yet, but I know it's going to happen." Like, it was really funny, and I was like,
And there have been a few
"Yeah,
times where
Just
I've
you wait.
literally said there's a reason why we call him Bitch Sander.
yeah." Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the other things. There was some cute things happening and out of just that people are hyper focused on of they haven't gotten to Dark Age yet, and so they're like, "Thank," and it's like adorable. But yes.
You'll get there.
Um
Adorable, but
but yeah,
misguided.
yes.
Another
Yes.
relationship, because you brought it up,
Yeah.
Seraphina and Lysander. Like,
Mhm.
I personally feel like that was a very one-sided
100. She did
Yeah.
not give a shit about him. I'm just
not at all.
wondering, if we've had this like how often do Cassius and Lysander stop and talk to people, especially Golds, especially
Right.
Peerless Scarred?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's never. So I wonder if it's like
Mhm.
literally she's the
Like, the
first
first I think
girl
so.
who's ever gay, like that he would put like
Everything on the line. But Cassius even is like, "You need to get laid, dude. Like, you've never done anything. You need to get laid."
yeah.
Just to be done and over with. But, like, which I thought was so interesting, and I didn't really catch it the first time I read it, but, like, he all of a sudden does a 180 flip, and all of a sudden, as soon as Seraphina, like, comes out with her true colors or whatever, and he's just like, "Oh, you're ugly. You have a hatchet face. I don't like you." It's just like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, I guess that crush died.
Yeah.
But I guess
Lysander's a
that
nice
makes
guy, confirmed.
Oh
mm,
yeah, definitely the definition of a
mhm,
nice guy.
yeah.
Ugh.
I saved you.
I
Why don't you
saved
like
you.
me?
Oh, God. Now I'm just more angry. Betty wears a fedora.
For Trilby.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's always an interesting one of that ongoing back and forth. Because he does then, like, at some point, like, try and comfort her when her dad's doing the long walk, and it's like,
And she's like, no,
she
go away.
doesn't care.
She
Like,
doesn't want
she
to talk to
doesn't.
you.
Yeah, like she's got
She
her
also
own
learned
issues.
she learned that you're a loon, and she like, why? Like, she has her own things that she's just gonna go through, and you're not one of
My
them, dude.
favorite though is that he keeps going back. So he's obsessed with the fact that he's a loon, but also then still keeps going back to like, you're gonna judge me on my ancestors. Like, pick a side.
That's just what he does.
Either
Yeah.
you, either you're
That's the
proud
big
of who
thing.
you are or you're not. Like,
Well, that's the big thing that we've all been talking about during this discussion for this reread is like he goes like he'll literally be going down one road and then all of a sudden go the other way. And it's just like side, please. Like that's all I
pick a
want.
side.
Like
Pick a
either
side.
be the good guy or be the bad guy and just stick with it. Like you're gonna have to make a
Yeah.
choice sooner or later.
Well, and even it's interesting of like talk about Cassius and his relationships that he has, I think, 2 flashback. Maybe it's only the one, but
Lysander
it
only has the one.
yeah, but it's like him and Cassius don't actually get along in that flashback.
No.
It's Cassius is
Well,
trying to pick up Mustang. Mustang's trying to take Lysander to the opera so she can probably get closer to Aja. Like,
oh
it's a
yeah.
whole bunch
Yep.
happening there. But he's like viewing this flashback in this like as Cassius is dying, and it's like, what is happening?
Excuse
Do you
me?
not have better memories of the guy?
Like why did you choose that one of all times? Like also more relationships. Cassius and Mustang, especially in that. Like and it's interesting to see Cassius from a point of view of somebody that's really paying attention to him like Lysander. Because Lysander literally goes and I can't remember the exact way he says it, but he pretty much like calls Cassius out of being like he's licking her up and down like a piece of meat
Yeah,
as she's walking
Oh
away.
yeah.
And
yeah.
it's just like, oh, Darrow definitely did not think that of him, so we never really saw that point, but it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah. But then Cassius is mad that Mustang didn't choose him.
And he's still not over it 10 years later.
Fucking Delphin boy.
They all need therapy.
They all need that. There's a lot of therapy. I think I was gonna say of all the point of views, they all need therapy. It's
I
gonna be
could
like, especially,
totally
it's like, no, they all need it.
I feel like Pytha would be the one that would tell them that they needed therapy when they're on the
Yes.
ship. She's literally probably the only sane person in there that's just like, "Oh my god, you guys all need fucking therapy. Get out of here."
Yeah. And she needs therapy just to not be angry at them.
To deal with them. Yes.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I found the quote you were talking about.
Yes, what is it?
He looks her up and down. Or first of all, he says, "Eagles are better than falcons," because of course he would.
Yeah.
And then he looks her up and down admiringly, and in an objectifying manner, with which I immediately take umbrage.
Yep.
Good job,
Which
Cassius.
Yep.
Good job.
yeah. So I mean, if that's
That
the memory
tracks,
you
but-
keep going back to 10 years old or 9 years old, however he is at that age,
Probably
I
9.
get it that then like
Yeah, 8 or 9.
Cassie is trying to tell you that you want to like you should get laid. I can see where you're then like, fuck you, bud. Like you're such a womanizer. Like so like to him for not always listening to Cassius if you think that your point like his point of view
Yeah.
is this like womanizing, taking advantage of Mustang, who is someone who Lysander clearly like has great
feel like-
respect for.
I also kind of feel like Lysander had a crush on Mustang.
Oh,
Oh, I can see
guaranteed.
that.
Like in the way that like in that memory when he's talking about her, when he's like viewing her, just the way that he describes that whole interaction, the way he's looking at her. Really, I was
Yeah.
listening to that at work and I was like, oh, that's cute. He's got a little crush on her. And then Cassius
Yeah.
comes in and ruins the moment, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think he even says something like she right? Him and Aja are going somewhere, and
Oh,
she's like,
because
"Can I come?" And he says, like, Aja's not gonna be happy, but
yeah,
Lysander's
but
like,
then
"Yeah,
but
like, you
then
can
like
come."
no, I think the thing was is that because Lysander was writing Mustang poetry.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
it was,
Do you
because
have
she's
a
just like,
new do you have
"Oh,
a new poem for me?
that you wanna read to me?" Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like
And
Mustang's
then
totally playing into it.
Oh, yeah.
Aja was going to take me to see the Falcons at Gossamer.
Oh, yep.
Oh, right, 'cause
Yeah.
And
eagles
that
are
makes sense.
better. But
Yes.
then and so she's like, I'm like, Mustang's like, "I'm coming too, right?" And he says,
Yeah.
like,
I
"Aja's
nod,
not gonna be
despite knowing
pleased."
Aja will be annoyed.
Yeah. You love it.
That's also the flashback in which Cassius tells Lysander that using other people's claws as his own is not the same as having claws.
Yes. That's a
Mm.
good one though. Like, of all
Oh,
the advice
absolutely
that
it is.
of all the advice that Cassius has given in the series, I think that's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because Lysander threatens Cassius with Aja.
Yeah, and he's like, "That doesn't scare me, 'cause
Using the
that's not
claws
you."
of others is not brave, nor is it the same as having claws. I love
You
that.
go. Yeah. All right. Last comments on Lysander so we can
Okay.
be rid of him for a week at least.
No more Lysander, please. Let's move on.
Yeah,
All
I'm all
right.
for that.
Who are we feeling next?
There's Lyria and her family. There's
Yeah.
Ephraim and the crew and Trig
Yeah.
And Holiday
and
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 Holiday.
Holiday. Yeah.
Hmm.
Volga.
And then
Volga's
our
like mostly the one that matters out of that crew, but
I think so, yeah.
yes. Well, let's do that because we love
Yeah,
Volga.
we love
Let's
Volga.
let's
we love
go
Volga.
from Lysander to the character that I think shines the most in Iron Gold, other than our classics, our favorites.
First side
But
character that shines bright, it's Volga.
it's
Yeah.
Volga, our
Her
little
little
golden retriever.
who likes to go to the zoo on the weekday.
I'm just so mad at her that that's where she got captured by them. Like, Volga, I know you like your things, but think about it. Don't go to the zoo
Go to a zoo
where
on
they
a
live.
different town.
There's got to
I
be more than one zoo on Luna.
hope so.
But that one's the best one.
That's true. And it
And it's
has
cheap during the week.
yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's got discount day. Toonie Tuesdays, as we would call them up here. Yeah, we love
Yeah.
Volga.
We love Volga. I think the only time I've really been upset with Ephraim is the like way he treats Volga
Yes.
after one of their last encounters. Like
Yep.
it's like it's the sad like telling the dog to shoo. Like and I think that's why I see her like very much so as a golden retriever kind of character is because it's like you're not being nice to the fun animal that really just wants to follow you around and be with you, and it's very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the one person that wants to love you. Let
And
them.
you're
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Is like I struggle less with him this time. As we know, the first time I read it, I really didn't like him. So the second time I skipped a lot of his chapters.
Mhm.
And this is like I struggled less with him this time, but he's still it's hard for me to read because he's just so mean to Volga and to Holiday. Like
Yeah.
Oh
he
yeah.
just has so much I don't
Pent up.
even know. Yeah, like pent
It's all
aggression.
yeah, it's all pent up emotion that he's never been able to get over, and he's just used Zolodone to cover it up the entire
Yeah.
time. He again, another character that needs therapy. Like he just if he and again, you can't force somebody to grieve correctly,
No.
and you can't force somebody to get help when they need help. They have to come to that conclusion themselves. And I think Ephraim does that towards the end. I think it's a little bit at Mustang's hand, but I do think that he ended up coming to that conclusion himself of like, okay, the Zolodone really kind of messes with me. So, but
that definitely doesn't stop him though, because he goes for it, and then Volga throws his dispenser off the skyhook.
I loved that scene.
But
That was unbelievable.
But and then also though, but he's got the backup that he doesn't, I don't think, take that when he. And this is the very end of his thing. No, he takes it when he puts the grenade in. It says he crunches like 4 of them up.
Yeah. Well, because he'd been shot. He's like, I need something.
Yeah. Fair. But
he's using it for the purpose that it's supposed to be. Yeah.
But still holding on to that. Yeah. Ephraim's a hard one to read, but he has, in my mind, the best chapters because they're the action adventure chapters that we don't have a lot of in this book. We don't get that action that we're used to, but he gets the heist, he gets the fun driving away with the kids, he gets all of that. So those are always fun. And his, oh my god, him and Electra back and forth are just the best things ever. Yeah.
But I'm excited to find out if he lives in the Dark Age.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a fun character, but he takes, I think some people love him and some people like me it's difficult to read just because I don't like the way he treats other people.
Yeah. I like his character for his banter, I think. I think that's
absolutely.
Where he won me over. Yeah. Like, and just the way he's creative about stuff. Like, I think the heist thing it's obviously his brainchild, but like it's very interesting to see his thought process and how he works through it and how he's literally just spitballing the entire time. He's not Darrow. He doesn't have this big massive plan that he unveils as he goes. It's literally Ephraim is like, okay, well, how do I get out of here? Well, there's a yacht. How about I jump on that?
Fucking hell.
Oh, wait.
Not the heist, but the rest.
Are we saying
the rescue?
Are we saying that Ephraim is Captain Jack Sparrow?
Oh my god.
Obviously. Like
wow.
Is that
I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Is that
Pierce, is that a reference?
That maybe,
no, because if you don't know the lore of Captain Jack Sparrow, which I obviously do, Captain Jack Sparrow is known to Norrington as the worst pirate because he refused to sell slaves.
And that's why he has 100.
Yeah, he owes Davy Jones 100 souls because he refused to give up 100 people. So Captain Jack Sparrow, would not agree to kill the two, or to not kill, but kidnap the 2 children. So no, do not do that to my Captain Jack.
Okay, so in every other aspect, Ephraim is Captain Jack Sparrow.
Pierce can twist him a little bit. It's fine.
Yeah.
He'll take the guts of it, and then Oh
my god, does that make Volga Will Turner? Of like the sweet innocent, like I just need to like. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about everybody, but we know how Will turns out.
Yeah.
We might be taking this metaphor too long, too far.
Okay, we'll have to pick this back up at the end of Dark Age
and see whether or not it pans out for Volga to be Will Turner. Fascinating.
Okay, well then Holiday and Ephraim.
Ooh. Yeah.
I feel like that one's so hard. Like, I don't know. Do you think Ephraim ever actually liked Holiday? Like when him and Trig were first dating?
That's a good question because we don't know what their past history is.
Right. Yeah, like we know when they're all together.
If they knew each other.
Right. Or if
you would imagine that they would have to. Well, not have to, but probably do because Trig and Holiday are so close.
They're so close, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Trig and Holiday are package deal. Like
Yeah.
Yes, and I think at one point, doesn't Ephraim make a comment to Holiday about, like, them being on assignment together?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I don't see that's where I don't know if they actually explain it, but like I feel and I could be totally wrong. I feel like it was more Ephraim and Holiday were on like a mission together, and then somehow he met Trig through that.
Yeah, so
Mm.
well, it talks about how he met Trig. He was
Yeah.
he was in a bar and Trig ran into him with a milk mustache.
Yeah. Also, I imagine Trig is like some southern boy, and he even says he has like freckles and stuff on his face.
Yeah.
That's just how I imagine him and Holiday, and they're just like these badass like pair of siblings that are just like doing cool shit with southern accent.
Yeah. Are They're the only ones in all of this represented with an American accent, right? Everybody else gets the British, Scottish, Irish twang.
Yeah, there was I don't remember what character it was, but I think toward the end of Iron Gold there was another one that was kind of
Heavily
American.
American.
Yeah. I can't remember. I
Interesting.
remember hearing it and I was like, "Oh, there's another one." And then I immediately brain dumped it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just interesting. The decision that was made more from the audio book.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, well, Pierce says specifically that
They're
they've got
from
some kind of an American,
yeah.
but everyone
He's
else, I think it's just our belief that the Irish would have, no, sorry, the Reds would have Irish and so on and so
Mhm.
forth. And obviously,
Yeah. I
Lysander and
think
Mustang would have the posh
Yeah.
English because that's what works in our head. Interesting. Interesting.
I think it's interesting that Holiday and Trig would have American-ish accents
Because they were like
because like
Hawaiian,
South
aren't they?
South Pacifica is like
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
Australia
I was
area
like, do you want them to have a
ish.
New Zealand accent?
Fuck yeah,
I wish in this moment
would
I
love
could
a
do the
Kiwi.
New Zealand accent. No, I'm not gonna
I'm not
attempt
even gonna
it.
try.
No. Mm-mm. Nope.
I'm trying to
Accents are
think
not
of
my
something
thing.
that Taika Waititi would say, but I nope.
But yeah, I think with Ephraim and Holiday, like I could totally see how Ephraim has resentment towards Holiday, not only for the fact that like he continues to say that she wasn't protecting him, like she said she always would. Whatever, you can't do that when you're with Aja.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Darrow
but
couldn't
like
protect Ragnar.
no, like Aja's a whole nother beast, and I think that's just where it's kind of frustrating. And Ephraim's just putting the blame on somebody because he doesn't want to put the blame on the fact that Trig was literally like nobody besides even a gold, like nobody can really stand up to Aja without getting an upper hand.
Yep.
And I could totally see that he has resentment towards Holiday because Holiday is the connection back to Trig. And Holiday probably looks like Trig.
Yeah.
And they're obviously
Yeah,
related. So, I mean, who knows? Like, I think it's just really sad, especially in that first bar scene where he goes and he meets her and he just has all these feelings and he just can't accept them. And she's literally there trying to be like, dude, you need help or you need to get
Yeah.
over this. It's been so long. And he just can't let it go.
Yep. Yep. But like grieving when you're a silo is a difficult thing, and he's made himself a silo rather than she at least has surrounded herself
Mhm.
with, like, she has a newfound family that, I mean, obviously Darrow was there when Trig died, and you would hope in one way or another would talk to her about it. But she at least has a meaning in life, and I don't think Ephraim has any type of meaning in life at this point. So that's where it makes it a very difficult thing. And then just lashes out. I mean, though his found family should be Volga, but
Yeah.
he
yeah.
refuses that. So
Do you think maybe it's that he's refusing that kind of help? Because, I mean, and they kind of talk about it anyways, but it's more of like he's refusing that help because he was hurt from that situation. Like he let his feelings be on the line and then that happened versus like maybe is he almost jealous of Holiday for having this other family that she's able to move on with?
Totally possible
Yeah,
because
that's
so
a
we were
really
talking
good thought.
about well, and we talked about Lysander, how he noticed, and the thing that came to my mind is we get the most description of what a howler uniform looks like
Yeah.
from Ephraim. Of she is in her garb, she's got her wolf cloak, she's got her pin that says she's Pegasus Legion. Like he describes her to a T, resenting her in that moment of like, of course, basically that she's come as her howler with Pegasus Legion, like she is the Reaper's man, like that, yeah, and obviously he's mad at Darrow for certain things in the same way we'll then see it in Lyria, but that's a good call out of, you know, she was able to move on rather, maybe not rather quickly, but have found family rather quickly because she was already, and I mean, if
Yeah.
you're going to be the one who's sent in to rescue Darrow, chances are that 9 months to a year before, you were already in the folds of the Howlers pretty closely. Or at least the Rising, not necessarily the Howlers, but the
Yeah.
Rising, if you were the person sent in to rescue him.
Right.
Yeah.
You're at least trusted enough to
Yeah.
infiltrate and get in there. So.
Well, partly that, but also like they were kind of uniquely situated. Like they were in the Ash Legions, like they were in the
Yes.
13th. Like
And then they defected.
yeah. Yeah, it was like you're picking the absolute best moment to
Yeah.
defect.
Well,
Yeah.
and then I guess maybe even more to stem off of that comment I made is like Ephraim then went at was it after Trig that he then went and joined the Suns?
Yep.
Yes.
And so it's like he tried. He tried to do it and just literally found out either it wasn't for him or he just couldn't go anywhere with it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I guess we don't really find out uh the timeline when Ephraim's crew gets tortured and killed, like his first crew.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um
Yeah.
cuz we I can't remember whether it's found out in Dark Age or Iron Gold. But I think
I don't
yeah,
think
I think
we learn about his previous like before Syrah and Dano.
yeah, no, yeah.
Like we
We
those are really the only ones that we've really experienced.
so
I think in Iron
we
Gold.
do hear what happened with his old crew and like all that. Like Ephraim wants to die, but he can't or won't. When Lyria and Holiday are talking, like just
Mm,
before Ephraim comes with the skyhook.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but I can't remember if we find out what happens to that. I think I'm pretty sure it's in that same conversation. So if not, we're gonna spoil just a little bit.
Yeah.
The the person that killed or tortured and killed his old crew got let off rather than getting sent to Deepgrave because Mustang um,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
needed
Hmm.
their men or their political power or something.
Right. And that's why he keeps like poking jabs at Mustang, where he's like, "Oh yeah, you're just gonna let him off,
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
do everybody
exactly.
else."
Yeah. Yeah.
I do like how in which granted it should not have gotten to that point, but Ephraim went to Mustang after Mustang told him that she captured Volga, that he's literally like, "No, you're not gonna hurt Volga." And it's like,
Yes.
He's finally having that realization that Volga is the closest thing that he'll ever have to family besides Holiday, but I don't think he's really accepting Holiday or ever will. And it's it's interesting for him to finally have that little bit of character development of like, hey, these are the people that are here for you. Maybe you should actually pay attention to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Takes him a lot. And I mean, it takes also Volga absolutely yelling at him and nearly dropping him off a balcony for him to also realize. But
And
yeah,
poor Volga in that moment too, where he's literally like, just do it. You know you want to do it. And she just has to be like, no, I'm not a killer. Like,
yeah,
I may be bred to do that, but I have the conscience not to do it.
yeah, yeah. Poor, poor Volga. I just want to give you your animal sanctuary.
She has the money to do it. Let's give her the land.
Yes. Just give
She
her the
did.
land.
Hmm.
Oh. Weren't they set to go like when they were supposed to escape to Africa, like on
Mhm.
safari? Like I
Yep.
They were
wanna
gonna go on a
see
safari together.
I just wanna see Volga on safari being like, "Oh, the lions, the elephants."
Okay, but like side note, like I did the way that she spoke, like the way that Ephraim's voice narrator like spoke for her was
She's
not how
so
I expected
Nordic.
it. Right. Like
Yeah.
Nordic, almost
She
Germanic.
she's
Like,
like
Yes.
Sven.
Yes,
yes.
which, like because especially the Obsidians that we know is like I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know how many we've heard talk, but it's like Ragnar who gets bold that you just
Yeah.
deep and I am and then you get her and she's like, "And then and then I go to the
She's
zoo, but on the cheap
you know what?
days."
She's almost like Swedish.
Yes,
Yes. That's
yes,
okay.
That's where it
That
is.
makes more
That's what
sense.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
it's which
Okay.
I mean, I guess they are from the Arctic. It does
Mhm.
make sense that they would be Scandinavian. But yeah, like you compare her accent to Ragnar.
It's not the same.
What's happening?
I mean,
What's
she
happening?
did spend a bunch of time as a docker and
Yes,
grew up in a slave kennel.
apparently in Sweden. Oh my god. You're right. Sven is exactly who it is from Frozen.
Yep.
Mhm.
Um
It's very Swedish. Yeah. But
next
yeah, I
next
do
thing we're gonna find out is that Volga is actually like a bomb cook.
yeah. Uh I do like him with the kids. I mean, he's so
Mhm.
mean to them, but
Oh
he's
yeah.
so
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
funny. Him and Electra are the
They
best.
just feed off of each other. Like, I and
Someone put
I really Oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say someone put the quote in where no dolls for for you. And
Oh
she
yeah.
looks at him like,
As she
like you
describes
old
literally
useless man.
she literally pokes her head in for like a millisecond. It's like, okay, this and this and this, and they have all of these weapons. There's this many people. They look like this, and he's just like, oh, what?
No dolls for you then. She's just like screw you, old man. Like
Okay,
useless
but
old man.
okay, so I even said in a response to one of my questions of the day or something, Electra really reminds me of my childhood best friend. And
Dang this.
maybe I said this in Dark Age, I can't remember. But so my childhood best friend, so which then I realized I didn't say it in the chat, but it was like, oh, she's Electra and I would be Pax in the situation. And where I'm like the calm, level-headed one, and she's just like full anger all the time.
Just feral.
Um, yes, exactly. She was feral as a child. And so she was the one that started a food fight in like our second grade class. And it was to the point, like, we all grew up with each other. So, like, we all knew each other from kindergarten on. And so she went and she had an apple, like a giant gala apple, and she literally hucked it across the room and lobbed somebody in the middle of the forehead with it. And it apparently then, because then I screenshot it. I was like, oh, I hope your ears are burning. Like, I talked about you today. And she's like, oh, did I ever tell you that I went and I baked snickerdoodle cookies and I gave them to the principal so they wouldn't give me detention?
Oh,
It's like pure Victor or pure Electra
pure
vibes.
Electra. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Badger said something about like I would have another kid if I knew she would turn out exactly like Electra, and I was like, with how many calls home from school, and like, no, she'd be homeschooled.
Mhm. What was it? Meditation and then martial arts.
Martial
Yeah.
arts. Cleaning your weapons. Exactly.
Cleaning your weapons is a meditative experience.
Yes. Oh my god, it was so funny. Yeah, the whole den. There's a few people in the den who were like either saying, yes, I want Electra child, or my child is already Electra.
Yes.
Oh my god. The Howler vibes. My favorite thing
Yeah.
is that we discovered that she's only 9 and through all of this. Like,
Yeah.
that's mind-blowing that she's not the 11-year-old that she's been in my head. Like, I always
Mhm.
put her and Pax at the same age.
But they're
And then
not.
suddenly I realized it didn't make sense. And like,
Like, yeah.
that's just, it's like, oh, this is like, I'm trying to picture my niece, I think at the age of 9, declared that she had 3 role models. Myself, Taylor Swift, which if you're in the den knows that's also me, and Darth Vader. And I feel like that's probably also Electra, is like, Taylor Swift and Darth Vader, great role models.
But also, like, Taylor Swift with, like, I can only imagine because Victra's so tall, I'm sure Electra is probably gonna have, like, Electra gene or
Oh yeah,
I
she's
flipped
got
it
the
around.
Julia,
But she's gonna have the
genes.
Julia long legs probably, and she's just gonna be tall like Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep. There was also a comparison of Electra to Serafina.
Yeah, which
yeah.
I thought that was I didn't read too much about it, but I did like, the parts that I did read, I thought were kind of interesting.
Yeah, of just that. I mean, to be fair, I think it's the only gold females that we see at that age. Like we get to see
Mhm.
Serafina in Morningstar at that young age,
Yeah.
but also just kind of that cutthroat soldier, warrior, you know,
Yeah, which I
princess. Like
yeah.
they're all quote
Yeah.
unquote princesses, like, but that warrior princess, like, yeah,
Yeah.
which is an interesting, yeah. But
Love to see more.
yeah, I just love Electra so much. Frickin'
And then so I guess then, like, you could then jump into Pax and Electra's relationship
yes.
and
Yeah.
how it's such an interesting relationship to me just because they've been raised together. Like,
Mhm.
I can't tell necessarily if it's a brother-sister relationship or if it's more of a, like, family-friend relationship. Like,
Yeah,
because
'cause
I mean, there is a
someone
line.
definitely a line, and it would be interesting to know because, like, they're basically being raised by their moms. Their moms don't actually really get along.
No.
Like, we don't see that much between Mustang and Victra. They
I think the
obviously
only time we do is at Quicksilver's birthday,
yes.
and
Yeah.
they're like, Victor's literally calling out Mustang the entire time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even past trilogy, it
Mhm.
is the 2 of them, like, at odds with
Oh,
each
they
other
don't
of, "Why do you
no.
trust that person? Why do you trust that person?" And it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, you guys are the same person, but, like,
Like,
different
stop
ends
it.
of the coin." So, like,
Yeah.
but obviously they're being raised by their moms closely, so it's like, but how close is that? But don't we at the beginning of the book see them dueling,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So, I mean,
Pax and
they've
Electra.
been
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, they've been together, like, I think they're taking all of their classes together, they're definitely obviously transporting them together, um, which, I mean, makes sense, like, you put the most valuable things together and take them to the same place, and
But it's clear, I think, to me that Electra knows that to protect Pax.
Yes.
And so
Well,
Oh, yeah.
whether
even
or not,
Ephraim tells her like to protect him the entire time.
yeah, because like at any step of the way, Elektra is there to, well, she's the one who runs out and grabs the razor and then is
Mhm.
like, here you go to you as well. But
Yeah.
like there just seems to be almost, and that's why I think I thought they were the same age, is because she acts as the older sibling.
Yeah.
Like she is the protective older, like I've got this, but I think it's just because she's forward and confident. She's
Yeah.
got the Victra, I know what I'm doing.
Mhm.
But someone in the den called out of, has she been raised to be who Severo is to Darrow? Is
Yeah,
that
that
the
Oh,
was
role they're
yeah.
gonna
being
be
Yeah.
raised?
that was gonna be my point to make is like, okay, is she almost like, and maybe she hasn't been directly raised that way, or maybe it's just the way that the tiles have fallen, but like, is she essentially Pax's protector? Because like it's almost at that point where she's always looking out for him. Like I think she understands his worth and who he is and where he stands in the society as the son of the sovereign and the reaper. But like does does she maybe even have some sort of mission where she's like, I have to protect this kid at all costs?
Yeah.
Or is that just maybe something we're insinuating on?
Well, that's it. Because I mean, at the same time, we know how loyal both Severo and Victra are.
Yeah.
That they are more loyal than I would say anybody we see in this book. Like obviously
Yeah.
Severo from book one is just, we get the Severo will find me, right? When he gets brought back. And like,
Mhm.
and then at the end of Morningstar with Victra just crawling towards Darrow, being like, I didn't know, it wasn't me. I didn't know. Like Elektra's parents are the two most loyal people in this, I was supposed to say trilogy, the series.
Yeah.
So is that just bred into her of, I will then also protect those close to me as much as I can, and it happens to be the person that her parents will go to the ends of the world protecting.
It makes me wonder how she acts around her siblings. Because
Yes.
Yeah.
we don't get, at least not in Iron Gold, and not that I remember in Dark Age. We don't necessarily get much of a look of how she reacts with her family and how she acts against her
Mhm.
siblings. Like, and I think I would personally really like to see, even if it's like just snippets of life and whatnot. Like if we're gonna do a novella from Severo, it's definitely gonna be like Institute. But like it'd be interesting just to have, even if it's like a clip of somebody doing
Yeah.
fan art of like what it would look like for Severo and his family life and how he treats Electra and all those kinds of things.
Yeah. Do we even know what the age difference is between, so we know, so let's go with what the wiki says. If Electra's 9
Mhm.
and Victor's pregnant with the 4th or the 5th?
Fourth.
Fourth.
4th. Okay. So what's the separation between the other
I'm
ones?
gonna
Like, is it every 2 years?
I'm gonna guess
Or is
about
it
two
like,
years.
yeah, like, so it'd just be
Another,
interesting of then, like,
yeah.
because then technically the same age difference between the one
Mhm.
under her and Pat would be 2
Yeah.
years older. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but,
And
yeah.
maybe that's something too, like, maybe because she is the oldest sibling out of all of them, maybe she just takes on that role in everything she does. And so maybe that's why we get a little bit of feeling that she's the older sister to Pax, because she's the older
That's true
sister to
too.
everybody else.
So, yeah, she's just used to being, I'm not the oldest sister, but I know that's, like, the ongoing stereotype, and you see it in Kanto and everyone else, that the oldest sister always has to be the stronghold of the family, and she's maybe just, 1,000 years in the future, and we're still seeing that, and she's still taking on that hold at the age of 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Uh, any other relationships or anything else we want to touch on? And technically Ephraim that we just side.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
sidestepped Ephraim. I guess we didn't talk about Trig and Ephraim.
Yes, that's true. We didn't do Trig and Ephraim.
Yeah. I think my biggest point, which I know I think I've talked to both of you about this before, like, and I haven't really talked about it in the den chat at all, just because I haven't really seen a moment. But I really enjoy seeing how Ephraim is gay, but he's also in the military.
Mhm.
He like nowadays, even so, when the trilogy, or not the trilogy, when the series was first written back in even 2014, like the visibility of gay rights and whatnot in social media and culture and literature, movies, anything really wasn't prevalent. And now having Trig as a character and Ephraim as a character in a relationship and both of them being in the military, there's still really a lot of stigma in the military over those kinds of relationships. I personally know a lot of people that have served or are still serving, and they're really not in a comfortable place to talk about that. I know, and later finally felt after they got out that they were comfortable to talk about their homosexuality or if they were transgender. Um, and I think it's kind of cool that now in this world that Pierce has created, that's not really as much of a stigma anymore.
Yeah.
And they're a little more open about it in comparison to maybe where we're even at now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and the fact that it's introduced in the same way of any of the other relationships being introduced.
Yeah.
Like there's no
Yeah.
huge focus on it because I mean Pierce overall doesn't really focus on relationships. Or at least sexual ones, or else we wouldn't have a podcast if there was no relationship.
Yeah.
But we'd be actually talking about spaceships. But
Yeah.
yeah, the fact that they are introduced in the same manner that anything like that's huge. But yeah, then as you were saying with the military side of it, that's even a bigger step in that way. And yeah. So hopefully groundwork for others to follow suit and change to come. But yeah, and I love their relationship, and we get to, I mean, it's all through a sad point of view. As anyone who has lost a spouse sees, and we know we talked about his grieving is not necessarily healthy, but, you know, for losing a spouse, like, you get it. Um, but it's so cute when he does reflect back, like we were saying with the milk mustache story, like,
Yeah.
it's really adorable, these cute little, and Ephraim always, I think, the whole time I think he even reflects in that of he was about to yell at Trig of like,
Yeah.
kind of like
You're
the
at a bar
fuck?
drinking milk. What are you doing?
Yeah, and then realize that like, oh,
Oh.
okay, this guy's pretty cute. Like maybe I'll back off,
Oh,
but
he's just sweet baby.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's
doesn't
definitely the opposite attract. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
yes.
the I can't think of what you would call Ephraim. He's like
The
definitely
jaded cynic.
he- yes, but he's like a little rain cloud, and then you get Trig who's sunshine,
Mm.
and that's their dynamic.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, and there's a few little cute moments of that you get the flashbacks that
He
you're like,
talks
I get it.
about
That
Trig playing his little ukulele.
yeah. So I mean, in Ephraim's point of view, if that's the only good thing that's happened to you, like if you went into that relationship already angry and you finally had someone to make you happy, I get why you would hold on and be
Oh yeah.
back to your more cynical self.
Yeah.
But they're super cute. Poor Trig. Not a
Trig.
hat death, obviously.
No.
So
That one was calculated.
that one was
It's a real stab in the gut.
I want to know, like, because Pierce is such a pantser when he writes. I want to know if that was like their storyline was orchestrated where he wanted to continue it, or if it was just like, oh, how could I get another insight into something, and then he just picked Ephraim.
Interesting.
Like, did he have? I mean, because he's talked about how like he's created different storylines for other characters and then just never gone about them.
Yes.
Like I wonder if this was like some sort of drafted thing where he like had a whole backstory in his brain, or maybe that he wrote about with Trig and Ephraim, and then finally is like actually using it.
Well, I mean, that just brings on, I think, a bigger conversation of I would love to ask him at what point in Morning Star did he start thinking about like Iron Gold coming? Because he had sold them as the
Mhm.
package deal of 3.
Right.
And then obviously they exploded and he got the ability to continue writing and like it works. It's fabulous. But at what point in writing the original trilogy was the idea of we can go more? Because maybe Ephraim was just a passing character and he didn't think about it, or it's always been in the back of his head. Yeah, like, I don't
Yeah.
know. For me, that's
That's
a
a great
bigger
question.
conversation of when did Iron Gold come to be
Yep.
in your head of something you needed to write. Yeah.
Anything else on Trigon?
I got nothing.
I feel like I wish there was just so much more, but there's really not.
There's not.
Yeah.
Well, the other
Mhm.
relationship Ephraim has is with Lyria. So we could.
Mm-hmm.
This is. Look at me
Nice little
segue over.
segue.
Good
Okay,
job.
let's cut
Winging
here
it.
for a sec. Here, let my
Yep,
dog out.
you got a dog problem.
Okay.
All right,
So Lyria.
Lyria and Ephraim.
Lyria.
Lyrian and Ephraim. I think let's
Yeah.
do the segue.
Yeah, we may as
Yeah.
well get that one.
Yeah.
Of who originally is Philippe.
Philippe.
You got
Can Philippe.
who is her first friend. Like I feel like the first time you're reading this and you don't remember who it is, like, or you don't know who it
Oh.
is,
Yeah.
you're so happy that she fucking Ephraim conning her.
Yeah.
Which
Oh,
like
Ephraim.
we didn't even really talk that it's like not Ephraim's fault that he has to do it in the grand scheme of things, or else he's
Yeah,
gonna
that's
get
true.
offed by the
He.
syndicate. But you're still like, did you have to go to the lengths that you did?
Yeah. Well, and he even talks about how he doesn't want to do it. Like he sees which. And so he even is like, I don't want to do have to do this, but this is my job right now and it's not going to not go away. So
Yeah.
it's I don't know if it was, and that's just me like reading it and listening to it. I don't know that I could personally see bits of Trig in Lyria, so I don't know if maybe that was just Ephraim reaching or if that's just a part of Trig that we never get to see.
Because
Yeah.
well, especially to me, I feel like Lyria's main emotion is anger. And from
Mhm.
what we know from Trig, it's not anger. That he
Yeah.
seems to be at least happy whenever we get the flashbacks and how Holiday and Ephraim talk, rather than I would never express Lyria as happy, even but innocent. Maybe they're both innocent.
Maybe. And
Like,
maybe that's kind of the thing where there's, and he does point that out, where like there's so much innocence in Lyria. Like he does point out that there is anger in Lyria and that she has a different type of fire in her than he does, like Ephraim himself does.
yeah.
But it's definitely an interesting thought that he has, that he still sees Trig in her.
She's also family focused, and from what we know from
Mhm.
Trig, he would have been family focused. So, like, but again, reaching. Like,
Um
who's not
the
family focused in
the other
these?
thing too is
Ephraim.
like he talks about how Lyria, when they first kind of start talking, like he gives her his pad number or whatever, and she's basically spewing hate and vitriol, and he expects that to continue, because she's finally got a voice and someone to listen. But then it changes to very much not vitriol, and he's kind of surprised at how sweet she is. So maybe that's something there
that's
too.
true, because like the reason like they picnic because he can't go through the thing because whatever, but she the whole time is very she does have her caring side, and the way she talks about Liam is probably the way like a reflection of how Holiday and Trig probably talk about each other.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And was a very giving person. He kind of, at least from the little snippets, being very giving and being very selfless. And Lyria is the epitome of selfless. Like, I don't think she
Yeah.
ever does anything for herself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's kind of like it's so hard to reread this section when you know what Lyria is getting herself into, because she said like there's that thing of that one night she goes to sleep not thinking of Mars and her family, but thinking that she found a friend. And you, when you're on the reread, know that she should not be trusting that friend. And it's a very difficult one. Rather than the first time round, you're like, so cute. Which then again shows her innocence. But then in the first time around, I think, well, I'm trying to think of where the chapters break up on where Ephraim is playing her, because I think you have more trust in Ephraim until you learn that you have grown to somewhat like is being played.
Honestly, it might be the literal next chapter because I'm sure. So it's like
Yeah.
Lyria does her little snippets, and then you're like, oh, this is really cute. Like Lyria finally has a friend and everything, and then it's literally the next chapter. Ephraim's like, oh, I'm so sorry to do this to you, little rabbit. It's
Yep.
like, cool, thanks, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Lyria gets her redemption when her and Holiday go and pick up Ephraim.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she's a real badass in that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she grows up a bit. Like I think we talk about like innocence and naivety in that first section. And even when she's talking to Mustang about why did you take the the pendant? Why did you take
Yeah.
that? And like, yes, I know in my briefing I'm told not to, but like and Mustang is the one who says like I get it. Like I don't blame you because it's the first person who has given you kindness, and we apologize like that you haven't had that, but there's that naivety and innocence that then turns when she goes to pick up Ephraim of like, you know what? No, like I am not a child to be played. I am a grown woman. And that's why I think I've always slotted Lyria younger
Yeah.
until that point. Like there's that turning point that it's like, no, you are 20. Like stop acting like a 14-year-old in the mines. You are a 20-year-old
Right.
from the mines. Like you
Well,
should be the age of like a 40-year-old. Like
Yeah.
or
yes.
the mindset of a 4-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think that's I think it's really interesting that it goes in that route, but I almost wonder if it's because she's been so secluded.
Mm,
There's a lot of parts to it. Like mines, but then she was taken out of the camps and secluded in the camps, but then also like stuck with all this hatred towards the situation she's in. And it's almost like she didn't have the ability because she was so stuck in that mindset and stuck in her family and taking care of her dad where she couldn't actually get out of the naive mindset. Like
Yeah.
she didn't have the ability to grow outside of it.
Yeah. And especially being the little sister, who big sister has 4 kids.
Yeah.
Dad is there at home, that you're taking care of dad, and even though dad is pretty much gone, there is still that mindset when you're living with a parent, when you're living with the parent, that you are still less mature than everybody else because you're stuck in that world. So for sure that I think going into Lyria, I always thought she was 14 years old. Like 14, I thought 16.
Yeah, I thought 16 too.
16 was what it is, but she's actually 20, which in the
She's the same
mine
age as
world
she's the same
is,
age as Lysander.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And you're not seeing that until you get her coming back at Ephraim of, no, like, you've played me and I will not be played.
Mhm.
Which even then, so like, okay, so she goes in the mines from being that little sister role to then she's taken on by the Telemanuses and given this pretty good life that you're not going to have to do anything, and you've got Kavix teaching you to read. I think in that small, like that lesser mental capacity of, I don't have to still fend for myself. Like I think her fending for herself was kind of in that one scene where the red hand shows up. A little bit of growth to do, that she's now taking care, quote unquote, of Liam, but she's not actually. Liam
No.
is
Yeah.
in a school and well
It
taken care of without her.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, took them under their wing. I mean, granted, they have lots of money because of their status, but it's not like she's using any of her wages to actually help Liam with schooling or with like his
No.
eyesight or any of these other things. It's literally all covered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Right.
that then turns into Lyria's connection to Kavix
Mm-hmm.
and how Kavix took that chance on Lyria.
Oh yeah.
Which is, I think that
Is
one's
that
kind of an
another bee
interesting.
popping?
Summersby, mango, and lime.
That's a good one. No crescent licks in this episode.
That's a
Ask
good
and you
one.
shall receive.
That's gonna be the next gif in the den.
Beautiful.
There's the next emoji.
To the rose garden.
But yeah, I love Cavex, and especially in this. Like, first off, we always get damsel in distress Cavex, but which we get in this one. Actually, we end Iron Gold not necessarily knowing if he is alive. He's
Yeah.
not
Yeah, he
doing well.
was
He is alive, but barely, is the
Yes.
last we know.
Very injured.
But
He may
yeah,
still die.
Yeah.
but we get to see more of his kids. We get
Mhm.
Daxo, we get Thraxa,
Yep.
his wife, who's only really been ever mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Kavix and Lyria is a very interesting. That, I
Combo.
mean, being able to take care of Sophocles, I feel like is the highest honor in the Telemanus family.
Yeah.
Like I
Honestly,
want to
like,
know what that thought process was. Like, I understand Kavix is very extravagant and he's very over the top, little bit
He's a little
crazy.
mad.
But like you're literally picking up a red. Granted, she saved your life. I get it. You're picking up a random bread that managed to save your life and putting her inside your house and taking care of your family fox.
that is like the end all be all. Like, I think he would kill Daxo over Sophocles.
Yes,
Yeah.
obviously. Like, Sophocles is his child. I don't care about any of the other.
Fuck you, Thraxa. Or what's the other one? Who's the other one? Who's on the loading?
Zana.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fuck her especially, because like she just doesn't
She's
do
named
anything.
Twice.
Yeah.
Better than the one
Okay.
that's not named at all. There's
True.
still one
That's
that is
true.
unnamed.
True.
But
Maybe they'll
Sophocles
show up later in the series.
Yeah.
maybe. Well, Sophocles is like 700 years old because he's been cloned so many times.
Yeah.
Whoa.
21st
21
iteration.
times.
Yeah.
You'd be mad too. Yeah.
Oh wait, I want to do the math on that because I was wondering like how long does Sophocles live? So if
That makes
he's
it like 40 years.
Like that makes it like 35 years.
33.33 years. So okay, now I need to know how long an average fox lives.
Not that.
I'm also pretty sure that the average fox is not like 70 pounds.
Yeah, that is like he is a dog size.
Okay.
He's
but
a
the
large
average
dog
dog
size.
is like 15.
My dog is 70 pounds.
But
Yeah.
the average dog age is like 10.
The average red fox lives 3 to 4 years. He is literally times that by 10.
Hey, the miracles of modern science.
Do we know how old this iteration of Sophocles is?
No.
We don't even know if this is the same iteration of Sophocles that was in the original trilogy.
Oh, don't say that. I don't. Well, also 10 years. He's probably not. He's not.
Well, no, but at 33 years per.
Okay, that's true. Okay. I don't know. But maybe he's a new one because they keep saying he's crazy. Because the more you
That's
you
another
clone
question
them,
for the unwritten decade.
and Pierce isn't gonna answer it.
Oh.
If he's not gonna answer like some of the little facts.
That's not even when he'll answer after Red Gold is out. He's just straight up gonna like, nah.
Yeah.
No.
I feel like any question we ask him about Sophocles, he'll be like, nah. Like, you don't deserve to know.
Sophocles is the great enigma.
Okay, maybe he doesn't even know because EO writes Sophocles.
Well, we know that EO wrote all of this.
I mean, if Pierce has a hand in it, I feel like EO is at least just Sophocles.
Just Sophocles. How perfect. So, EO came after Morningstar, I'm pretty sure, but is like, looks like a fox.
Yeah.
Like, the perfect dog for his friends to find on the street and just name EO and give to him, pretty much. No.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. But yeah, she definitely.
So then the relationship between Lyria and Sophocles.
So we need to know. My favorite is that Sophocles plays games.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That little fucker is mischievous.
Hates
but have you guys
Pachelbel birds?
Yes.
Yep. For one reason or
and
another.
like literally plays hide and seek.
And is like, I think my favorite is when Lyria's at the party and she's like trying not to make a move and she's like, get over here. And Sophocles is clearly just staring at her. Like, no.
Yeah.
No. And it takes until I think Mustang notices Lyria that then Kavix.
And she's like,
yeah.
Who's the random red in the corner? And Sophocles is just like, meh. Can't be bothered.
And then they leave the birthday party and they run into the little robot ball.
Yeah.
And then Sophocles just pisses on the floor. Like,
but doesn't the robot say like bad?
Yes.
Yep.
Or like bad animal or bad creature or something.
Yeah.
But also,
I mean, if I were a fox, I'd do that too. Did you guys ever see my fox videos? I went out to the San Juan Islands and I actually played with foxes, like on the beach.
No.
I followed him around. It was like National Geographic, and we like played hide and seek almost the whole way down the beach. It was fun. I'll post him again.
I think I've talked about this on the podcast that I have a fox up at my cottage, or it's a family of foxes, so I'm sure it's like the second it's like Sophocles. It's like how many generations do I see each summer? Who knows? That I am the only one in the area that feeds it out of my hand.
Don't do
And
that.
everyone else is like, can you stop feeding the foxes? I'm like, why? They're not doing any harm. They're fine. Fine. But I was gonna say, Bellini, like the other thing with Sophocles is how protective Sophocles is during the heist. That they go
Oh,
in
yeah.
and take the kids, and Sophocles is losing his shit. Like,
Yes.
and so the
bites
relationship of
Dano.
Sophocles to everyone, because Cavix is there, but you assume also Pax, everyone on that ship,
Mhm.
like
Yeah, I wonder if it's Sophocles is protective of the whole estate, or if it's
Right.
just like Cavix
Cavix.
and Pax and Electra.
Yeah, it's
Ooh.
probably.
like
I mean,
the-
you could think about it maybe as like a dog, as in like I bet that Pax and Electra play with Sophocles all the time.
Yeah.
And like when they're all together, and I could totally see like even my dog is like as soon as I have friends come over, he's immediately like, "You're my pack now. I'm protecting
Right.
you. Don't leave." So I could totally see as like Sophocles is like, "This is my pack. I don't go away."
Yeah.
I also love that moment of Volga is just like, "You are not shooting that fox. You are not killing that fox."
Yeah.
And literally just takes Sophocles and opens his mouth and bear hugs him and then walks to the cabin.
Yeah. Chucks him in a
Because
closet.
we
Yeah.
love Yeah. Which then Sophocles is smashing at the door.
Slamming
but-
himself against the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good boy. He protect.
Yeah. Well, should we go to
He
the
also snack.
front
Yes.
of Lyria's chapters and actually talk about her and her family?
Oh yeah.
Could do that.
We don't
Yeah.
get much of them, but
It is a
No.
very interesting dynamic with her dad.
Yes.
Her dad is so stricken with the fact that his wife is dead, and to the point where he is gone mute and bedridden himself.
Yeah.
well, he was bitten by a
Which-
pit viper,
Mhm.
seems to me. And then his wife dies.
Mhm.
And that just wipes out the rest
Which
of
his
them.
wife dies of, I think it's technically cancer.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I
they
think
just
Lyria
don't
actually
give-
says that later.
And they don't give the drugs, and yet we know that probably 1,000. Fucking hoping that 1,000 years in the future we have
Oh,
an
they
answer to cancer.
No,
they
that's
say
what they
it
were saying.
several times. It's
If
cancer's
she
cured.
doesn't get the
Yeah.
she doesn't
Yeah.
get the medicine.
And I think even Mustang says it because, of course, Mustang's probably read Lyria's file. And I think when Mustang is like trying to apologize for Lyria and the life she's had, she even is like, "Yeah, your mom didn't get the medicine that she was promised." So, yeah, I think it is cancer and it's like curable at that point.
Yeah.
So,
We'll spoil just a little bit. It is said 100% for certain that cancer has been cured in Dark Age.
Oh.
Yep.
I believe
So
that
I
it's
need
been
to-
said actually before that, but
Yeah.
I
So
can't.
it's just the bullshit
I can't remember
games
exactly
they're
when.
getting. They're playing against the Reds.
It's
Exactly.
Gamma Games. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then her and her sister have a very close relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically, Lyria is a second mother to her kids.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Yeah.
Well, and especially because she's got the 4, the 3 we see with them, and Liam is then at the time at the hospital, or they call it something
Med
else,
tent.
but yeah. That Lyria is the one who always has to go and see her I mean, you got 3 kids at home,
Yeah.
like, and yeah, her
Yeah.
brothers are off.
Yeah, on Mercury.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
having a realization right now, and it might be the rum and the whiskey that so the first time I read this, I didn't like Lyria. I found her too angry. And this time
Mm.
around, and now as we're talking it through, it's like, oh, I see the family relationships that Lyria mirrors myself. That I'm like, I get it. I reflect back to her this time that it's taken me talking this through to be like, oh, this is why I like Lyria this time. Of like that aunt role, the
Yeah.
dead mother, everything else that it's like, yeah, I get the rage, I get everything else, but we're all seeing the realization in this moment. There you go.
There's no therapy in
promise
space,
to-
but there's
Real-time,
therapy on a
folks.
podcast.
There is therapy in a podcast. Good work, team. Like that. But yeah, like it is hard. You're living in an assimilation camp. Yeah, her brothers are in fighting for the rising.
Her other
With
brother is there.
yes, the one brother's
Mhm.
there. I assume her.
uh,
Where's the
isn't
dad of the kids?
isn't that her sister's oldest son?
Oh, is it?
No,
Or is that her brother?
no, that's her brother.
Is it? I don't remember his name.
Someone pull
might be.
up
Was it
the
Tyrion?
wiki.
Tyrion, yeah.
But where's the father of the kids? He's gone. He's not around.
He's one of the ones on Mercury.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because
As good a man as I've ever seen, and as absent a one.
Okay, hold on. First off, the wiki puts her only at 18 in Iron Gold.
The wiki also hasn't been updated in a long time. I've tried checking stuff and
Family.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you are right. Our
Tyrion
remaining
of
brother,
Lagos.
Tyrion. Yeah.
Is brother.
Yeah, because she keeps saying my baby brother died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, might be.
Because I thought Liam was one of the older ones.
No.
Yeah.
Well, middling?
I
I
mean,
think
they're
so.
all
The other
really
three
similar in
seem
age.
young.
Yeah.
One was a baby. Because I think that was. So Lyria's sister does end up dying in the raid from the Red Hand. And I think when she's found, she has the baby.
Yeah.
She has
And
all 3
then
kids
she
with
has
her.
all 3 of them? Okay.
That's how I know
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
4 is
then-
because 3
okay.
are found with her.
Yeah.
So Lyria doesn't have to like
Yeah.
mull
Search for
over
them.
it. All of them are together, and then she has
Yeah.
Liam. Yeah.
One thing
Which
that
is
I like, because Michael is also listening to all the books. He's just not participating in the discussion.
we love Mole. We love him.
Yeah. He pops in every once in a while. But he brought up an interesting thing of how do I word this? It's Lyria is so, again, everybody needs therapy and it's not happening. Like he even pointed out, like before he even knew that we talked about like we need therapy in space. Like why was therapy not one of the first things that Cavex had Lyria do? Because she literally just had her whole world rocked and
Seriously.
then lost to all of her family members, watched her brother die, now is like trying to get over with everything that's happened in her life. But then like she's so stuck on talking to her sister. Like she's having a really hard time out of everybody. She's having a really hard time grieving over her sister.
Mhm.
And she's constantly like, that's her coping mechanism, is like, oh, my sister would have thought this, or oh, hey, I'm doing this, you'd be proud of me. And it's kind of an interesting concept that you slowly see start to go away, but it's almost one of those where it's like a really telling sign of their relationship, the fact that she's still stuck on her.
For sure. And as you bring that up, the rage part of like
Mhm.
Ava commented on my rage. That
Yeah.
yeah, if you're in therapy, like first off, you're gonna work through the grief and
Mhm.
the rage. That yeah, that is a good call out of like, but there's no therapy in so is that the golds, they're not gonna go
Oh,
through
yeah.
therapy because
No,
they think
because
themselves perfect. But
yeah.
it's interesting of like, would the golds not think that the other colors might need it?
Right.
And is
Or
what color is the therapist? Is that the yellows? Or is it like the whites or the more I feel like the
I
yellows,
see.
right?
I would
I
say
think yellows,
most likely yellows.
because
Yeah.
they're like still medical doctors. Like, I still see a
Right.
therapist as a medical doctor
Oh,
because it's
yeah, that's
dealing
true.
with mental.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that's a
feel
good
like
call out
in
of
I feel like in the Republic, a pink therapist would be
Oh, that would work.
incredible.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, or
especially
like,
ooh, okay.
ooh, could you even like at that point, I mean, granted, I feel like they're all assimilating, they're letting them all do like different jobs based off of whatnot because
Yes.
they're just combining them. But you could totally see a pink being a therapist for other pinks, or like a rose being a therapist for other
Yes.
pinks.
But the pink is a good call out because as we see with the Duke of Hands, they know
Mhm.
how emotions so in
Yes.
right
Yeah.
now, we have in modern day society the social worker versus the like psycho okay,
Psychologist.
maybe I shouldn't yeah,
Psychologist.
maybe I shouldn't have just poured that drink. Psychologist,
Or
right?
now.
Like that's the aardvark now? Ardbeg.
Ardbeg. There you go.
Ardbeg. Is this more smoky?
Aardvark?
The last one wasn't smoky. And I
This
like
one's
took a
very
sip and
smoky.
perfect. The last one I expected to be smoky and like took a sip and I was like, where'd my smoke go? Um, we're good. The social worker being like the pink that you're gonna be able to talk it out, you're gonna read emotion, you're gonna do whatever. The psychiatrist, who's that step higher of I can assign you drugs if you need drugs. I can like work through the mental, like not necessarily mental, but with the brain work of it all would be the yellows. But I think the pink's only in the Republic
Yeah.
because I don't think they
Definitely
would be
not
used in
society.
Well,
that.
no,
No.
absolutely, it wouldn't be a thing in
No.
society.
Well, first off, the society's not, and that's it. We're only 10 years out. The society is not going to think that the other colors need any type of help.
Well, yeah, they even if they did think like, ah, yeah, they could, they wouldn't care.
Well,
Exactly.
and even yeah, and I think at that point too, it's like, okay, at what point are you so high and mighty where you like are like, oh, I don't need therapy. Why would you need therapy? I think it's that vicious cycle. So
For sure.
I'm sure that there are like within the different colors, because most of the time until iron gold, we've only really ever seen the minds of golds. Like, I'm sure that there's other colors out there that can go and see a therapist because you're still going to have
Well,
some say.
that's
You're
I'm
still going to
now
have a
thinking of
business.
like think of the silvers, the coppers, and the whites who are counted as the high colors as well.
Mhm. Oh
Is
yeah, I
there
mean,
anything in their lives that would cause it trauma enough
oh
that you would
yeah.
want to see a therapist,
Oh yeah, relationships, anything. Like, I mean,
right?
okay, then take Quicksilver for an example. Like, I could totally see Quicksilver being like, yeah, Mateo, go see a therapist.
Yeah.
But I mean, also Quicksilver is kind of an outlier in comparison. So
Yes. Well, and again, Fitchner would
yeah,
be an outlier as well. Yeah. Interesting. So in the 10
It's just not in
years,
space.
yeah. Well, and now I'm getting into the medical side of like in the 10 years. So let's say that Darrow, being a red pretending to be a gold, acknowledges, hey, if we're going to bring, you know, maybe Mustang would acknowledge this, but Darrow, having the living experience, acknowledges these people will probably need help in other ways because he needed help in other ways.
Mhm.
I don't think Darrow would have thought that way. Never mind. I take that
Yeah,
back.
let's.
Just gonna let you go on
Dancer,
your thing. Yeah.
but
Dancer on the other hand.
Dancer, I think Dancer would acknowledge that. But in 10 years, can you get people medically trained up for yellows to change their point of view of what medical means?
I mean, you have schooling for, like, even now, you have schooling for psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist that doesn't take 10 years.
Yeah.
Some of it takes
Yeah.
close, I'm sure.
So you're thinking the
But
depending on the
but
age of a
also-
yellow. So let's pretend
But
a yellow
also-
matures in the same way we do. That at 18 you're
Oh.
picking your route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So within
also-
4 years,
Yeah, I
that
see where Crescent's going.
18-year-old.
Yeah. But
Sorry.
also, they have, like, enhanced learning cocktails,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
Darrow learns 3,000 years of literature, like, right now, basically.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Like, I mean, we don't really see any yellows. Like, we get glimpses of them, but we
Yeah,
don't
like,
interact with them, so
very,
we
very,
don't
very
know.
brief.
They could be like a blue and have some sort of port that literally like allows them to get
Yep,
information
download.
about new things that are happening and just download it. So who knows?
Right. All right. So there may or may not be therapy in space. But it depends on whether
think
or
It's
not
unconfirmed, hence there's no therapy in space.
There's no therapy in space on the spaceships. I'm sure.
Definitely
Because-
not
Oh yeah,
on the
those
spaceship.
are
Like,
battle
on
doctors
planets and
only.
moons. Planets and moons are a whole different thing.
Sure. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, that was a nice 20-minute tangent.
I was going to
Yes.
say, now that we've settled therapy in space, back to Lyria and her lack of therapy in space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. She needs a lot of help.
Well,
She needs
and
a lot
I
of
mean,
help.
considering she went to the Telemanises, you would have expected that one to be like the only place that she would have gotten it.
Yes. But up until then, we've always ridden on the assumption that the Telemanises do not necessarily need therapy to the same length, but she was not raised by the Telemanis,
Yeah.
which
Yeah, true.
means they may not think that people need therapy because they're like, you talk it out, you battle it out.
But first, let's also talk about how Kavix plays the crazy.
Yes.
So that's prime example that they don't go.
Yes, but I still believe he plays the crazy.
Oh,
and
yes.
he's not
Oh, he
actually
absolutely
that
plays
he's
the
playing
crazy.
them
He does.
fucking
Like,
all.
oh yeah, 100%. I mean, there's so many times where he literally like finally has a sit down moment where he's like, okay. Well, doesn't he even say to like Lyria that like he
they
has that
need to
quote?
think you're all mad.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
He
need to
plays
think
it.
you're crazy and you get away with more things. Yeah.
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 So, all right. Does Lyria doesn't really have any other relationships other
No,
than
it's Ephraim and her family, basically.
And
Yeah.
that's it. And the Telemanis.
I would bring up
well,
it's
yes,
not
but-
necessarily a relationship, but how she interacts with everybody else though is with pure anger and the belief that they are judging her is just
Oh,
an
yeah.
important
Yes.
Like-
thing.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
relationship with
Especially
the
with
rest of the
Pax.
world.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, that was interesting too, where it's like she wants to make these connections, but then she just has this voice in her head that continues to say, "Oh, nope, these people are all against me because I'm different than them."
Yeah.
Like she could, and that scene was a little rough for me to listen to because she was getting along with Pax and she was like, "Oh, Pax is actually really smart," and then all of a sudden he says, "No, I'm a red too," and she just completely blows him off. Like, that's it's
Yeah,
weird and
It's not
I don't
even
know.
that.
He
It is when he
asks,
says bloody damn at the beginning and she goes, that's not his word.
Yeah.
That was my thing. That'd be like, screw you. Like, everyone can say fucking
like,
bloody damn. Like,
yeah. And then so that's like a little spike in her anger, and then he asks about, like, he wants to know how it is in the mines. He wants to know about the mines. And she
And
says,
it's like,
"Oh, little gold wants to know about the nasty shit," and then just
and then he
really fucking goes into him.
and then he
And
just
he
kind of gets
says,
upset.
I'm a red too," and she says, "The fuck you are."
Mm-hmm. It's like, and at
Yeah,
that
he's
point when I
trying to
was,
get to know you. Like,
and that was like the kind of the interesting thing too, is like he's trying to get to know her, he's trying to connect with her because he like, and that's probably us as readers knowing Pax's backstory and everything, and knowing Darrow's backstory. But it's very frustrating because it's like you can totally tell that Pax is like, I don't know about this life. But it's part of me and I want to know. So it's almost similar to that person that's like learning about their heritage for the first time because they've just never been around it. They've never had the ability to go into it.
yes.
And it's so discerning when all of a sudden Lyria's like, "How the fuck you are," and just blows him off. And he's just like, "I just want to know. Nobody tells me these things."
Yeah. Well, and as you say with the heritage part, like, if you're not going to talk about it, then it's just going to be this secret that nobody talks about, and you're going to bury the issues.
I think
Like,
Pax even says nobody tells me about it or something
yes,
like,
because he talks
yeah,
about my grandparents will not tell me. He says
grandmother
my
yeah,
grandma
and Uncle Dancer
will
yeah.
not tell me.
won't tell me.
It's like, okay, why would, and which is also frustrating too, because it's like you can't
Yeah.
hide this information from this kid that's literally sitting in. Mustang has him sitting in
Yeah,
on
like the
meetings.
smartest fucking kid in the world.
Yeah, and then you're not
World's
letting him, yeah, you're not letting him know about the literal history of his family that was just this last generation. Like,
yeah.
how fucking rude. God.
But also brings up Darrow, and Darrow, why haven't you talked about the mines?
Because he's
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah, which we'll get into. Oh,
Break.
but yeah, like,
Okay.
that's the most
Well,
abrupt one you've done there. So, okay, before we get into Pax and Darrow, is there Illyria and anybody else? I don't think so.
No.
All right,
before we
Pax
get
and
into
Darrow.
Pax, well,
Okay,
before we get into Pax and Darrow, do we want to get into Pax and or Mustang and Darrow?
sure.
Like ending on Pax is probably the best
Yeah.
one. um how Mustang and Darrow's relationship is kind of matured in comparison to what it was at the end of Morningstar. And at the very beginning of Iron Gold, you really kind of get a look on how they're pretty normal, but it's interesting how Mustang has to separate Mustang and Virginia.
Yes, so we get Mustang and Virginia versus Darrow and the Reaper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, in theory, then later we can talk about Severo and Goblin. But for
Yeah.
now, the life
Which
work relationship.
I think it's
Victor doesn't get
interesting.
a cool other name, but go.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that Mustang gets Darrow and Virginia gets the Reaper.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting.
Just thought of
That is
that
a
now.
good float. Well, because Mustang's the cutesy name.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but at the same time, who?
I
No,
think
she's not who
it's,
names him. She says Mars in that
yeah.
moment back in Red Rising.
It's House Series
Yeah.
that does it. Um
Proctor series.
which is interesting because I mean it makes sense. Like like you said, Mustang's the very like cutesy kind of like funny whatever name, versus Darrow has made Reaper his name. Like
Soul.
that's his namesake. And versus Virginia is like descendant of Nero. She's an Augustus and
Yes.
all of that big
Yeah.
formal stuff. So of course she has to use the formal name for her like sovereignship.
Yeah.
In comparison to Darrow, like Darrow of Lycos is not as scary as the Reaper.
Yeah, he's just a dude.
Yeah.
He's a former miner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because what's their official? They're still going by the Augustus name.
Yeah,
correct?
I was wondering.
Yeah,
Well,
because he's
is Darrow still? Because now it seems like Darrow's referred to as Darrow of Lycos.
Yep.
Where Virginia is Augustus.
So who is Pax?
I think probably Augustus.
Augustus Lycos? Are we doing a hyphenated
Yeah,
here?
hyphenated last name.
That's my last name.
Well, because they're it's Julia Barca, isn't it? No, it's just
Barca.
It's just
well,
Barca.
it's House Barca.
But they still refer to her sometimes as
Madam
Lady
Julia.
Mad because she owns Julia Industries, so
yeah.
Which
I didn't know if there was
the family is
the
Barca,
hyphenated. So then we're gonna go with the Augustus Lycos, like
yeah, which is interesting because like I think that's actually kind of cool, because given nowadays a lot of women are keeping their last names.
Yes.
I kept my last name, and it's kind of interesting because it's like, okay, yeah, Mustang has literally made her own self with Augustus
for sure.
and so she's not going to change that. And
Yeah.
whereas Victra wanted to get away from Julii.
Yes.
And so she took Barca. And then Darrow's just like, yeah, okay, I'm going to own up. I was a red. So I'll still be Darrow of Lycos.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, like, in a gold society, because I think we've talked about it before, where golds tend to take the name of the house that, I don't want to just say is better, but like the house that has
the stronger.
Yes, stronger house. That's kind of more what I was thinking.
Because we know, I was going to bring that up, we know at least in the Julii that it is Victra has taken her mother's name, and it's a whole thing that Antonia does not.
Yeah.
And how disrespectful it is that Antonia is not Julii. And so, yeah, for sure it is whatever the better quote unquote house is.
So then, which is also interesting. I think that's just a whole entire interesting concept, because then, like, at what age do you choose? Because it almost sounds like she was a Julii. Like Antonia was a Julii, so she chose to have her father's last name. So do you just get to choose on what name you want to go by? Because then you also have Apollonius, or Apollonius, where he's Valii Wrath.
Right, he's got the hyphen.
Yep.
Told you the fucking hyphen in here.
Versus Tactus was just Wrath.
Oh, you're right.
I don't think he was a Valii Wrath. I think he was just a Wrath.
He was definitely a Valii Wrath.
Was he?
No.
Google.
Someone
Google
get a
I don't need Google.
He is, yeah. He is hyphenated.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Why do I not remember that?
Yeah.
Is that that's the only hyphen we know of?
Okay, so in Red Rising specifically,
yes,
Tactus says he is of gens Valii, and then Mustang says he is of House Valii.
Ooh.
But then beyond that, it's Valii Wrath.
Interesting.
I wonder, well, we also don't get a lot of background in the first trilogy of their family, so I wonder if something happened that Darrow wasn't aware of, and so maybe it was worthwhile to have both last names.
Yeah, maybe. But also, like, Antonia is Au Severus Julii.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's
so
not
she's
it's not
also
that she
hyphen.
doesn't go by Julii, it's that she goes by Julii second.
So actually, that's an interesting thing because my parents were never married, and so when they were giving me my last name, they fought over who got to be first.
I was about to say, in
So
day and age, it's usually
yeah,
Yeah.
and usually it's like father and then mother, but
Mhm.
for me, it sounded better for it to be my mom's and then my dad's.
Interesting.
So they went based off of sound.
Yeah.
That's the
Interesting.
better way to do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, you got it. Yeah, because some people
Yeah,
have.
who wants a lame sounding last name?
Well, it's funny of some of the people I know that when they like marry, and I'm like, you gonna hyphen that? Like, it rhymes. Don't hyphen that one. Or like,
Yeah.
right? Like, or specifically
Mhm.
go in the correct order.
Yeah.
I was gonna give an example, and then I remembered internet safety. But yeah, like we love our internet safety. Yeah, super interesting of who gets
Yeah.
what last name and like, well, Lysander, like Loon is
I don't think
it's
he even knows himself, so I
no,
don't
but
think he
that's
Can
knows
we
how
his
to
not go
mom's
back
be
to
a
talking about
grandmother's
Lysander?
name, right? That's his mom's lot
Yeah,
versus he could have been an Arcos.
that's true.
Yeah. But
Which,
okay, so we find out in Morningstar that going Barca is odd because Julii is the elder house. And
yeah.
Loon
Mhm.
is
Yes, is
definitely an
right.
elder house over Arcos.
Then what about Alexander?
Oh.
Who's Alexander's parents?
Other parent. We assume one of the dads who passed away because it's all the
Was
widows,
Arcos
right?
or the maybe, or it was one of his daughters. I don't know. He has a lot of kids.
I feel like Arcos those
I don't think
must be an
Lorne had
old.
daughters.
Did he?
No, I think they're
Lorne
all
had
sons.
he had
Lorne had sons,
granddaughters.
and now all he has is the widows of Arcos.
Okay, that makes sense.
But either
I think he
way,
talks about how having granddaughters, and that's
But either way, I feel like Arcos has got to be. Well, maybe it's just Lauren has made Arcos a good thing.
Yeah.
Or yeah, who knows?
No, because when Alexander is talking to Apollonius uses that of like, and not even Alexander is
you're a
talking
pure
about,
blood looking boy.
yeah, that you're a true iron gold. So Arcos must be an old name. But yeah, so
Yeah.
Lysander goes by Loon, which is
Old.
somehow
Yeah.
overtakes Arcos.
Yeah.
Slenius Aulun. Like right from the Conquering.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. But yeah, back to Darrow. Oh my god, Darrow.
Yeah, Darrow and Mustang. That went a long way.
All we've gotten to is their names.
My bad.
Whoopsie. Yeah, we're only at 2 hours and 20 minutes.
3 hour. Yeah, why?
I think this is the longest one that I've done.
Oh, for
this
sure.
Is a big book
We're
now.
doing a whole book though. We don't normally do the whole book, and in theory, we could do the series leading up to this. So.
Yeah. Oh,
Too much.
It's a 4-book episode.
Oh god, you didn't tell me that. Skipper, I thought you had to work in the morning.
I do, and I started by drinking before this. It's bad. It's bad.
Okay. Okay. Anyways, so Mustang and Darrow.
Yeah, they've definitely got some cutesy.
Yes.
They do have cutesy, but they have the mature of the cutesy that we see.
Yeah,
I love how Mustang's literally just
that
like.
other relationship.
I love how Mustang's just like, no, you have a job. I don't care that you just came back from war. You need to rub my feet.
Yeah. And then he's rubbing her shoulders, and she's like, "Your sovereign commands you to keep going."
It's a move.
And then he's like, will I though? And then she gives him the look. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to.
Okay.
Good lad.
Yeah.
Good lad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Smart lad.
Smart boy. Smart boy.
It's interesting too, just like how Darrow, especially towards the end of the book, where Darrow's just like, I trust Mustang, but I don't trust my sovereign.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's how she separates herself, which I feel like a lot of us do. Like, your work life is very different than your home life, and it's hard when you're working with your significant other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to have that separation. And I think reading it this time around, it was way more prominent than I actually thought it was, where the Mustang that he loves is very different because they're very close to each other and they're very trusting of each other to the point where he's like, she can save Pax, it's fine. I got other stuff to do. And which again is a whole
Oh
other
yeah,
topic.
we'll get there.
We'll get there. But versus the sovereign, and he's like, I can't trust that she's gonna send ships. It's like, you can trust your wife to do this thing, but you can't trust her to do her job.
Yeah.
My thing is, he knows how much she wants the Republic to succeed, and so she will, in the macro, follow the will of the Senate.
Yeah.
Because that's how the Republic works. But then, Mustang will save our son.
Mm-hmm.
Because
when it comes to personal matters, she'll do.
That's a microcosm of the sovereign, everything. Right? Like,
yeah,
that is the core of Mustang as a person, rather than like the multitude that is her job.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's kind of, it's a good way to look at how people divide themselves. And like, I'm sure that Mole would never be able to work with me. Like, in regards, like, I don't know how it is present with you and your significant other, but like, I don't know that, I think the two of us would butt heads all the time if we were to work together in a job setting versus like in our home life. Right. So it would definitely be a very big divide of like, okay, this is how we operate in this setting in comparison to home. And it could also be too, like, they don't want to bring politics into their home relationship. And you kind of see that in the beginning when he finally comes home and they're like trying to be a normal couple. And they literally say, I am not talking about work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult, especially, and then we see him force her hand of, like, he purposely goes back after he may or may not be arrested. He will be arrested, but anyway. And then I can't go see her. I can't put her in that position, but she ends up obviously knowing her husband, figuring it out, and she has to call the guard because, no, you've pushed my hand.
Yeah.
Like, that's that gray area of like, no, like, it's fine. No, it's not. Like,
yeah. Which almost is mirrored with Dido and Romulus.
oh, interesting.
Where Dido, granted Dido has other means, but she literally calls a trial against her husband so that he will serve for his crimes. And Mustang kind of does the same thing where she's like, Darrow, if you don't step down, I have to call the guard. Like, if you don't surrender and go to this trial, then I will have to arrest you because I have a duty to uphold.
Yeah.
And Dido does the same exact thing where she's like, I have a duty to uphold and you're getting in the way.
Mm-hmm. That is a great reflection.
Yeah, I've never thought about
never
that.
made that.
I thought about it this time. Like literally, so that scene and then listening to the Romulus's trial, and I was like, oh, this could go really bad for Mustang if that were put into the same scenario. Like if Darrow hadn't run and Darrow had gone to trial, something similar probably could have happened.
For sure.
Darrow walks the surface of the sun.
Oh my god.
And somehow, because he's a hell diver, he lives.
He lives.
I wasn't going to say it, but I thought it.
Due to his hands.
He digs through the sun.
Making a note for later. Yeah. That's a fabulous connection because yeah, we don't know how that trial would have gone down.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's probably for the best. Like I am sure that the Senate would have torn him apart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Darrow is not a Politico.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. But we see Darrow run and leave Mustang, Virginia, and her role as he goes off.
Okay, I just want to spoil a little bit. Because I started Dark Age. I love that Rona calls Mustang Aunt V.
Oh,
like I thought it's so stinking cute, and I was like, because at first I was like, "Who's Aunt V?" And I was like, "Oh, it's Virginia."
yeah, because you can't see her being like Aunt Virginia. Like Virginia is such a big name,
and it's not Aunt Virginia, it's Aunt Virginia.
Yeah,
Aunt.
Yeah,
Aunt Virginia.
Yeah, and I'm sure Mustang would hate that. As she's just like, no.
Yeah, and then Aunt M. It's like no, because no, it's gotta be V. Yeah, I like that.
Auntie Stang.
Is it canon now? I feel like it has to happen.
God. Yeah. Adorable. Well then, okay, so if we're done, Darrow and Virginia?
I think so, yeah, because
there's very little.
No, yeah, they don't have a lot of interaction. If anything, it's at the end, like, where Darrow decides to do his thing.
So then I'm going to say we'll segue to Rona.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a really fun relationship, because we're going to end with Pax. We'll end all of this with Pax. I feel like that's what's coming. But it is a very fun relationship with Rona. Fucking love Rona.
I love her.
Oh, Rona's the shit.
Yeah.
She though plays him of, I want to be someone under your command, but I don't want to be your niece, but also I'm your niece. Like, she's so all over the place.
Yep.
Sneaky. Let me sneak on. Like,
I love her.
I love her.
She just goes for what she wants, and she fights for what she thinks she deserves. Because Darrow's literally being the biggest asshole. I get it. You want to protect your family, but like Rona literally has shown that she can do this job. Let her do it.
Yeah.
Like,
not and even that is like, she's the top of the class. She's got the I don't know why. I assume they're in my leg. Yeah.
I think they're on her elbows.
Okay, I was gonna say it's just something someone's saying to me. Or
there's a fan art that I have his other
Miles
stuff.
Bensky.
And Bensky, Miles has done, and I think Rona has like ports on her elbows and stuff.
Cool. But yeah, like she's done the fucking work for
down
us.
arms and legs.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's done the fucking work for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and also she still does call out the like, but uncle, right? When he's like, only you would talk to me like this. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you weren't my niece, I would find another Lancer.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, if you talked to me like this and you weren't my niece.
Yeah.
Which, like, fair. But also,
Yeah.
like, she fucking deserves it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely she does.
Yeah.
And I love
I just-
how he tells her no, and she just sneaks onto the ship anyway.
I know.
Yeah.
This not
And she's like, "No,
Sparta?
I'm coming."
Is this not New Sparta?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, she's just great. I love her.
And her banter between her and Alexander. We only get a
okay.
taste of it in here. Not a lot, but we just get a taste.
I just made the note because I'm making notes of people who are not necessarily reflected to our main narrators that we need to
Mhm.
relationship reflect on. And I just put the RNA.
Yeah.
Ronan and Alex, like, fucking there. We get the
Yeah.
seeds of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
they're just,
it's that beginning of learning who each other are at that point.
yeah.
As he's like, "You're a little red."
Yeah, and he's
Picks
the
at her a
uppity,
little.
uppity gold. Don't be an
Mhm.
asshole. That's how wars are started.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why there's war in the first place.
Yeah. Like, fucking just love them. Love her. I mean, and it makes sense that her uncle and her dad are so protective.
Oh yeah.
Like, but then her feist of like, this is what the females who could have been Helldivers felt. Like, calls
Yeah.
that out, that in the
Yeah.
red society we still have the patriarchy, and fuck the patriarchy. We are supposed to now be in the gold society. You're still leading it. Thank you, Crescent. He's my biggest feminist ally of all time. We love
Perfect.
Crescent for it. But yeah,
I'll do my
like,
best.
call him out of, no, we're supposed to be in the gold society ruling, in which the patriarchy should not exist. So no, like, no, we're not doing this.
Mhm.
Yeah. Though I don't think Darrow's holding out because of the patriarchy. It's because
Oh
just
no.
it's family
He just-
member.
Yeah, it's because he
Family
doesn't want
member.
Rona to die.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just love her for calling it out. I'm like, yeah,
Yep.
that's right. But yeah, we only get a
Mhm.
little bit of them in this one, but I just
Yeah, not a lot.
good segue. But then him and Darrow and Alexander, we do get a little
Yep.
bit of that Lancer.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
Go ahead.
almost feel like Darrow sees Alexander as a son,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is very sad. At least
Yeah.
for me. Like,
For Pax, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it makes me sad for Pax. Like, and I get it. Like, maybe Darrow's just the kind of guy that's connects more with older kids. Like, because
Yep.
he's known Alexander since Alexander was Lysander's age, which was like 9 or 10. Because Lysander was pretty young. And he's probably trained him and grown up with him and everything. And then now he's fighting with him. And so it's almost like he maybe created him for that position, but now they have a different kind of bond.
Mhm.
Yes.
Also, I feel like Darrow sees some of Lorne in Alexander. And
That's
it's
yeah.
like a little bit of his way of having that around him still.
Mm.
Well, and besides Lysander, are there any other descendants of Lorne that are out there?
Yeah, they're just
Not Alexander.
obscure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like there's the Knights of Arcos.
Oh yeah. Okay. Because I was almost wondering of like if maybe it's a protective thing where he's like, I have to contain this legacy of Lorne.
Hmm.
Mm. Well, it's
If
the legacy that he has access to. And especially if
Yeah.
Darrow is the last student of Lorne, he's going to want that to continue.
Mhm.
So why not through Lorne's own grandchild?
Yeah. True.
Yep.
And not
But again, we only
Um,
get a little
little
tidbit.
snippets. I'm gonna do kind of Severo last in these relationships, but
Yeah.
the other we get Clown and Pebble a bit, but not much. Like
Yeah.
Holiday a bit, but
Darrow
not.
and
But
Seffi, like just a little.
Yeah.
it's kind of that everybody's at odds with Darrow, but still like I guess like shrugging. I'll follow you at this
Yeah.
portion,
Yeah.
and then we get Severo, who is the outspoken like.
Yeah, he's very
Sure,
much.
I'm fucking following you, but you're doing dipshit
Yeah.
plans
You're doing
here.
a shit
Well,
job, dude.
I think it's interesting that like Severo spends a a good portion of the book just like straight up being on Darrow's side.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, basically they get to Venus and they see the state of Apollonius's army such that it is.
Yeah.
And he's like,
And
no,
it
this
starts
is
to
okay,
just
now this is shit.
Yeah.
And fuck you, and how dare you not go back and save your kid.
Which is I also again I saw a lot of parallels when I was doing this read. It almost is like when Darrow comes out of the box and Severo is Aries, but Severo's not making very good choices with
Right.
Aries. And it's kind of similar in that regard where like Severo's like, dude, you are really not thinking, you're just acting. And that's like where Severo was at that point. And
Yeah.
he just needs somebody to tell him he's being an idiot.
Yeah.
Like maybe don't grasp at strings. Like I think that was Darrow's biggest thing is like he literally put everything, all of his faith into Apollonius, and then all of a sudden he just like, oh, here's a fat army. Here you go. And you
Yeah.
don't have anything
Though
else.
I have to say though, like at that point, what the fuck does he do? Like,
Oh yeah, totally. I think Darrow even kind of says
what
that where
other
he's like,
what other option does he have? He's
Yeah.
now on Venus with a shit army.
yeah, you're
Like,
on Venus where
and
you've chased the Ash Lord.
if
Just gotta
you
do it.
come in and you just dip out again and somebody knows who you are, you're just gonna get hunted down and killed in space.
Well, and he even pointed out, he's like, I just released 5 killers.
Yep.
I can't go take them back now. I
Yep.
just have to keep going. And I think that's where it's hard, is like we're kind of all on Severo's side where we're like, dude, this is stupid. But at the same time, we also see, like your point from Darrow's side is like, okay, what else are you gonna do? Either you die or you keep going.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Definitely hard.
I I think I sided more with Severo.
I'm definitely a
And
team Severo on this one.
like I feel like we can't really talk more about Severo and Darrow's relationship without talking about Pax. So
All right, let's get into Pax because that's it. Is I think Severo wants to be the father. He
Mhm.
knows what his
Oh yeah,
dad was
absolutely.
not, and he wants to replace that. We've seen that, but even we see that in the first chapter. So it's already set the tone of how excited Severo's kids are to see him
right.
versus Pax is almost afraid of Darrow, of like,
Standoffish.
Yeah,
oh
he's very
shit, he's
standoffish.
here. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. I could see maybe him being afraid, but I also um I like with my personal relationships with my parents, like it's almost that standoffish of like, you don't really like I don't have a relationship with you, so what do I do with you?
Right.
Kind of thing. And so whereas he's very connected to his mom, he's probably pretty close to his mom, and he's probably really close to the Telemanises. But
Yes.
Darrow's literally been absent this whole time. So even Darrow's like, I wish I had a relationship with my son. And it's like, well, you could. if you
Well,
tried.
especially because we see that Severo does. So, and if
Yeah.
we know that Severo's always at Darrow's side, then why does Severo have a relationship with his children and Darrow doesn't?
And I think there's even a point where Darrow, like, there's some sort of downtime, and Darrow says how Severo went and had a video chat with his kids.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
Severo takes the time to go and be a dad, even if he's away. Like, his kids may not be his entire world, but they're a big chunk of it. And he makes sure that in his busy time, he will go and talk to them. Whereas I think Darrow is so stuck on his focus that he's not making the time for that family life because he's so hell bent on trying to end this war. So it just, and it's frustrating, like, to see it as a reader that saw Darrow want to have that kind of relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just really hard. And I mean, when we do see Darrow with Pax, when we see him at like with the grav bike and all of that, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
They want to have a relationship.
for the most part, yes, and he's good at it. Like he does say if like he laughs at Pax. And the way he's laughing at Pax, I can see like my dad laughing at me, but Pax then takes a step back and is then self-conscious, and Darrow's like, "Oh shit, like forgot I could have this effect." But it's because they don't have the relationship that it's appropriate for Darrow to laugh at him.
Yeah, it's almost like when you have a friend that you haven't talked to in a really, really long time and you don't know how to interact anymore.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard too, especially because Pax is a growing kid. And so, and I think Darrow kind of touched on it in like the first couple chapters where he's like, he comes back and Pax looks so different. And so he kind of even realizes that if he's not talking to Pax all the time, he's missing out on these things and he doesn't even know what he likes anymore. He didn't even know he had the grav bike. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, which if Darrow had talked to Pax more, then he would probably know and probably would have told Pax not to strike up that interest deal with Victor.
That is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Like,
How
what
much
is
is where'd you get the money?
oh, from Aunt Victra. For
60%.
what interest? 60%. And how much did you owe in the beginning? 5,000 credits. What do you owe now? 11,000 credits. Mm-hmm.
As Darrow's just like, she's teaching him a lesson in finance.
Yep.
Which, honestly, good lesson.
Oh, yeah. But also, she's getting money out of it. But also, good on Mustang for being the mom that is like, oh, no, I'm not going to give you that. You have to work for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And being that kind of like gold in a society where she's like, no, you got to work for your shit.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, and
for
yeah,
sure.
Darrow even says like how difficult it is to teach a child that their parents' wealth is not their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because, well, and even in their society, so golds we know and their parents are tied, and reds are close to their parents. Do we know like blues who are kind of this cold robotic, like do you stay close to your parent if you're
Aren't
do you
blues
call
meant
home?
like, aren't
Blues
blues
are
kind of,
raised in sects.
yeah, they don't,
Yeah.
I don't think
That's
they really
they
have parents.
Yeah, I was gonna say
So
they probably
Aren't they?
barely, if at all, know who their parents are.
Oh, I
so
was gonna say
greens, oranges, and yellows, like do they know?
maybe. Well, and then pinks are test tube babies
Hmm.
because they're infertile.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting that family dynamic
Mm.
throughout.
Right.
Yeah. Obsidians have very strong family ties.
Yes.
Yes, that's true.
But yeah, so um but yeah, with Pax and Darrow, I think the most frustrating thing is they don't have a good relationship, and I think Darrow falls into that where he's like, I don't really have a good relationship with my kids. And so when him and Severo are fighting over literally everything, this whole plan, and then they find out that the kids have been taken, um, most likely by Atlantia and the Ash Lord's legions and who knows what else. Um, Darrow decides that he's not going to go back. He's not going to go and help Mustang, and he's not going to go help Victra and Severo find their kids. He pretty much says, Mustang's got this. I have another job to do. I'm going to go and get the enemy when they're not thinking about it. And I think for a lot of us as readers, that's really frustrating because it's like this is that one moment that you could have to go and save your kid, have a relationship with your kid. You don't have to give all of this up. But at the same time, it's like you want this so badly, or you say you want it so badly, and it's literally there in your hands and you don't go after it.
Yep. So I will clear it because you will not. It has not aired the episode that comes before this. That me and you right now same page. Crescent and Bold were not on the same page as this.
Oh.
No.
They believe that he
I
did the
actually
right
just
thing.
I
Yeah,
don't
tell me yours.
Kate, I don't think I would say it's the right thing, but it's not the wrong thing.
No, I get that. Like I see that part.
I just had a thought actually. What happens when Darrow goes back to Luna? There, like, Virginia is still trying to run the Senate, right? Darrow goes back, shows up. What the fuck happens? Everything explodes.
Oh yeah.
Everything explodes.
No, and that like
right?
totally. Like she's still like trying to keep all this under wraps. She like doesn't want the Senate to know that somebody has her kids. And if Daryl all of a sudden shows up, and I think that's the thing about Mustang is that she knows that Daryl's going to make this choice. Like she knows that he understands that this is not the time to come back. And I think he even is like, I can't. Like I literally can't. Not only because of the fact of the Senate, but he does have that opportunity where he can go and strike back.
Yeah.
Like I do understand why he made that choice. I think it's just frustrating because it's like I just want so much more for him. I want him to have that family that he has, like we get a taste of it.
Yeah.
And it's like you literally could go back home and you could and that's something we've kind of all talked about during the read along is that Darrow could hand over the reins to somebody else. He could lead from more of a strategy point and not be boots on the ground. But that's also not how Darrow operates. So that's where it's really hard. And it's like, we all yearn for him to have these opportunities that he's literally wanted his entire life. And then he's like, nope, I'm the Reaper. That's what I am now. There's no hope for me.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Darrow and any other relationship? I don't think so. I think we've.
No, I mean, you could. His hands.
Yeah.
No, we don't get a lot of that in this one.
No, we don't.
No, he stops obsessing.
Yeah. I guess
right.
to like finish out that is Severo and Darrow then are kind of split.
They're at odds. Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
Severo literally is just like, I'm done. Like you go do your thing. I think he literally says like I followed you for so long, but now I can't anymore, or something along those lines. And it's just like, yeah, totally. Severo, go do what's best for you. And now Darrow's just lost. Like he's got like a couple people on his crew, and Severo's gone, and Severo's so mad at him. Like And I don't know, like, do you guys think it's like, I don't want to say, like, do you think it's Darrow's fault, but
It's Darrow's fault.
like, well, I guess more of like for the kids being taken, and then Severo's upset because Severo followed Darrow on
Okay, so
this.
that's not Darrow's fault because Severo did
Right.
not need to.
No. And
Yeah.
then, so I don't know. I don't know how to say it correctly, but it's super conflicting in those regards where it's like, yeah, Severo could have stayed home, but Severo made that choice. And then he's realizing, like, this was a shit choice. Like, you didn't tell me what your entire plan was, and I should
Yeah,
not have followed you.
for sure. But yeah, Severo did not need to follow, but
No.
yeah, Darrow did not give any indication of the plan that even when they go into Deep Grave, Severo's like, there's got to be something else. There
Yeah.
has to be. And they're like, no, we went it through. There's nothing else. It's like, I think that's when the seeds are sown of Severo being like, what the
What are
fuck
you
is
doing?
this?
Yeah.
Well, like Severo definitely knew the deep grave plan. Like,
Yeah,
Oh,
he knew it, but
yeah.
he
yeah,
says it's shit. And there's got to be
Hmm.
something else.
yeah,
Yeah, because I
but
think yeah.
yeah, and then but they've he even agrees like they've gone through it. Like he's grasping at straws too, being like, there's got to be something better. And Daryl's like, no, we've talked through it. There isn't. You know.
Yeah. But I think Severo would have preferred to have a plan before they even left Luna.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't know that that was in the cards. Like,
No.
No, for sure not.
So it's not Darrow's fault that Severo followed, but Severo's mad that a
That he
plan was
did.
not laid out that he
Yeah.
agreed. Yeah. No. Well, that leads into I have two relationships left that I've written down, and it's Severo and Victra, which we get
hmm
very little of. But like we're gonna
It's
talk cutesy.
small but
They are
mighty.
the I don't know if cutesy is actually the right word,
Feral.
but
yes,
feral.
that's the word. Feral.
But like so looking at Darrow and Mustang and their working relationship, technically Severo and Victra have a working relationship as well, but it is completely different, I would say.
Yeah.
Do they? Because
They're technically both
Sev-
howlers. The only reason she's out of
well,
commission is because
yeah,
she's pregnant.
Yeah.
she's also running Julia Industries.
Yes.
And I think Julia Industries is supplying a lot of things for the Howlers, so I guess technically they're working together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he's still technically Aries.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
Okay,
they
but
yeah.
clearly
who?
are
Yeah.
fertile and
Yes.
fucking it seems like the healthiest relationship that we see this
I
whole book.
was just gonna ask, who do you think is healthier, Mustang and Darrow or Severo and Victra?
Severo and Victor, because they
Because
actually fucking talk about shit, and
yep,
Yeah.
they're both. At least we know that Severo's somewhat calling home.
yeah. Which is
Yeah.
funny because I feel like Victra is the most direct person.
Oh
Like
yeah.
which I think
100%.
helps with that relationship. Like I think Victra is the one that is most direct and Severo is the one that needs somebody that's most direct.
Victra out. I cannot tell a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The other relationship I have that I feel like needs to be talked about is Romulus and Dido.
Oh yeah,
Oof.
we didn't even touch on them. I mean, well we kind of did, but
The most romantic and yet toxic relationship in the
Yeah.
entire
yes.
series, I would say. That you get
Yep.
romantic and toxic. There's more toxic and there's more romantic. But I don't know if there is more romantic than the two of them.
I don't think so. I think
No.
because they've also got that they've got that story. They have that everlasting story about their love. And I think they continue to feed into it.
Yeah.
And even at the very end, Dido's like, "Oh, here's the man that I like fell in love with and know from all those years ago, because he kind of, at least for the last 10 years, because he was being so secretive, he just kind of fell off the map. So, versus, like I was saying before, she then is literally trying to get him out of his seat of power so that she can come into the seat of power. And it's like,
Yeah.
what kind of relationship do you guys actually have? Like, how is this even a marriage at this point? How is this not just strategy that you've lived with for,
Right?
I know, 50 years?
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they need to survive, because they have all of the how they ration and everything. They're just so limited on supplies. Um Maybe that's just what they need to survive. They need to literally be aware of each other all the time, and that's just their means of checks and balances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like we don't know how many people the rim have versus the core. Like we don't know that. Also, this is gonna be the dumbest thing, and the thing I realized while sober. So I'm gonna say it now, but I was sober and I realized this that I forgot until halfway through Iron Gold, and they make no, wasn't even Iron Gold. Never mind. Anyway, doesn't even matter because it's not a spoiler. That it took me to realize that the rim is no, the solar system is not a line. So the rim is Saturn to Pluto,
Mhm.
and they're sometimes on the opposite side of the sun. So like you get the rim and Saturn, like so it's Saturn's here, Jupiter and the moon lords over there can be way the fuck over there. It's been a really long time to figure out how big the rim is basically what I'm saying. Because in my head
Skipper,
this is all
space,
sober.
space,
And
science.
Iron Gold is 5 years ago. It took me 5 years ago to realize how big the rim.
I'm so disappointed, Skipper.
I'm disappointed but not surprised.
This hurts my science background heart. What are you doing?
Reading
History and
other things.
literature. I am history and literature. I don't know how space works until yeah, that's what I learned this month is how I knew how big it was, but not in this book. Like in my mind, Saturn and Jupiter are right there. So you can have like the rim having their conversations. So then when you're bringing in someone from Venus, it's like, why have you married someone from Venus? Well, half the time Venus is actually closer to you than
You
Jupiter
gotta
would
think
be.
of it like a donut.
I know, I didn't though.
Okay, so I need to open
You're not allowed to cut
a
this out.
no, you have to keep it. I
Isn't this
have to
spoilers
now.
because it's that one book that I learned it from? No, it's spoilers now. It's spoilers now.
No, it's not. No,
No,
it's
it's
not.
not.
No, Skipper. Okay, I need to open a
You're allowed to
channel
spoil
that is
just
all
a
about
little
space.
bit.
We need to open a channel
It's
about
not a
space
little
so
bit
you
to
can
say I learned.
have a space, like you need science. You need some science in your life.
That's our goal in Tulsa.
To educate me about science.
Yes.
Or to get a little science in your life.
No, listen, Sylvain showed me the telescope and I could see Jupiter and I could see Saturn and they were next to each other. So, I don't know what your issue
Then.
is.
Yeah, then.
I could
Where is
see,
it now?
actually, that was really interesting is I could see 4 of the moons of Jupiter, in which Europa and Ganymede, Io, and I forget the 4th. Then I could see
Callisto.
all 4. Callisto. I could see 4 of them. And the rings of Saturn. And they were next to each other. So I forgot that, like, if Jupiter's here, Saturn might be over there. Oops. Joel draws them in a line, guys. Joel draws them in a line.
That's For science.
They're in a line sometimes. It's just convenient to draw it that way.
When Mercury's in the microwave.
All right, we are
I
at
think I
3
said that
hours.
earlier this
Moving
week.
on.
Okay.
After Romulus and Dido. Any last
There's nothing.
comments?
There's nothing
No,
else.
there's nothing.
Okay.
We have to
No.
end the podcast.
Book's done.
I'm
Book's
done.
done. Get the fuck out. Go home. Go to sleep.
Okay,
Any
thank you
other
for
Okay.
joining.
Yeah, for everybody who has stuck with us for 3 hours of tangents and shit and shenanigans, thank you. See you next week for week 1 of Dark Age. Bye.
Thank you for watching Fade to Obsidian, listening on all of the platforms.
If you've
we'll
forgotten
start a
what we
GoFundMe
are after
for
3
Skipper's
hours.
education. There has to be. Well, okay, we need a GoFundMe for Skipper so she can watch some Neil deGrasse Tyson, and maybe some Bill Nye.
Works in real life. I forgot how it worked in the books.
Bill.
Bill
I have
Nye, the
met
science
Bill
guy.
Nye. I have met Bill Nye, the science
He would
guy.
be so disappointed in you.
He's from Seattle, yes.
I know how it works in real life. I forgot how it would work in the book. This is fiction. I don't know if you've heard. This is fiction.
Nothing ever works the same in fiction.
Oh. All right. Good night.
Pop Top, I miss him.
Yeah. Pop Top, if you can hear us.
If you're watching Pop Top.
Yeah, if you're watching, come back and visit sometime.
If you're watching the part that I'm going to edit,
just
no,
like clip this one little bit and put it like right at the end.
So this is gonna be the Instagram.
No
reel.
context.
Yeah.
Pop Top, don't bring your tarantulas, but in your
bring your
Bring the
tarantulas
ocelot. Bring your
and
ocelot.
Bring the ocelot. Don't bring the killer snake, please.
No,
leave that one where you found it.
No killer. The coyote, yes, and definitely the puppies. But
Yes.
like in separate cars, the coyote and the puppies, apparently.
Probably
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
And the ocelot. I don't know where the
Yes.
ocelot falls on the food chain there. There's
In your
only
lap.
60 mating pairs of ocelots in 60 ocelots, 30 mating pairs in all of the United States. I learned that when looking up ocelots.
Pop Top's just got one of 60 right there.
Yes.
The
One of
fuck?
60. The rest are all in Central and South America.
Where they belong.
Yeah. But in Texas, there is 60, and Pop Top has 1.